You're listening to the Joel Martin Mastery Podcast, your source of music news, stories, and 2-hour deep dive interviews with bands that have sold over 150 million albums. If you've been enjoying the podcast, please take a moment to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Now let's dive in to today's episode. Welcome to the Joel Martin Mastery Podcast. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. We are joined by a very special guest. He's achieved a level of mastery as the founding guitarist and songwriter for the diamond-selling band Evanescence. Their debut album, Fallen, won 2 Grammy Awards and sold over 17 million copies. As a songwriter and producer, he's worked with some of the biggest artists in the world, including Celine Dion, Kelly Clarkson, and Avril Lavigne. So welcome to the podcast, Ben Moody. Ben, how are you? And is it true that you made a cameo in a Resident Evil movie as a zombie?
Yes, and by the way, killer intro. That makes me feel very good. Thank you. I got excited until I realized you were talking about me. Yeah, I did make a cameo in Resident Evil Apocalypse, which is the second one. And to be honest with you, that was one of the coolest I've ever felt in my life. I'd never, when I saw, look, I'm a zombie fan first and foremost. Up until recently, even you had to be careful what you said about me. If you were doing an independent film or a student film or anything involving zombies, I was just ready to go. And when I saw Resident Evil in theaters, I loved it. I was not past the 80s. I wasn't much of a gamer. But Resident Evil, I was a zombie lover. Resident Evil, the first movie, did it right. I thought they did a great job. I love the theme. I was obsessed with the music. I was obsessed with Michelle Rodriguez, for a multitude of reasons. And so I put out feelers once Evanescence sort of broke, and I was like, I want to be a part of this. Once I heard they were doing a sequel, I figured they were going to do a sequel. Stuff like that, video games. It's a given. So it was all good vibes. And then it was like, they're shooting, you're on tour. It's not going to happen. Maybe we'll work on the soundtrack, but let it go. And I fought that a little while, but it is what it is. I let it go. Next thing I know, things reach what I'm assuming we're going to talk about at some point during this interview. Things reach a breaking point with Evanescence. I fly home from Germany to Arkansas. I wasn't home 24 hours. And I got a call from my manager saying, well, you did the deed. We'll deal with it. For now, can you be in Canada tonight? And I was like, for what? And they were like, he was like, there's the last night, tomorrow or the next day or whatever it was. It was the last night of shooting for Resident Evil 2. I'm like, fuck yeah, let's go. I thought I was just going to talk to them about maybe doing something for the soundtrack, whatever. So I'm on a flight that night. I'm on this that didn't even count as a red eye. It's Arkansas. It's straight up. So I get on a plane. Literally, I get home the night after leaving Evanescence, and I'm on a plane to Canada, and no one knows where I am. No one knows I've even left the band, let alone on a fucking movie shoot. It was crazy. So I get to the hotel late that night. I am on cloud 9 because I'm super, super distraught about the band stuff. But back then, a lot of, especially in what I've learned about myself in terms of my mental health, the way I dealt with things back then was to just throw myself into something new, completely pretend like the past didn't exist. So I went up there. I memorized the script overnight. I'm in the director's tent the next day. They're shooting all this stuff. It is the most extreme, intense. I've never seen anything so thorough. There were cop cars on fire, entire downtown streets overturned, and I picked up a newspaper off the street, right? It's the fucking newspaper from the movie, and it's filled with articles about the people in the movie. Obviously, I saved that. I still have that. It's in my warehouse.
Just a massive budget for the movie.
Oh, it was insane, and it was the last night. So they decide they're gonna throw me in there. I'm like, whatever you need, I don't care. I'll do anything. So they squib my head up, and they put me in full this STARS team, which is SWAT gear, So I'm in full SWAT gear. And yeah, I'm just waiting. And then eventually I'm with the director and 2 of the producers, and they're talking about a shot, and I completely high on my own shit. Thinking I've got the right to open my mouth, which I don't, but I did. And I was like, actually, I don't know if something's changed, but the script says, and then like, and then they changed the thing they did. So I was like, oh, all of a sudden I was like, I learned my stripes, I guess.
You
So
deserve a writing credit on the movie.
I mean, dude, like I literally all I did was because I was such a fan, like I memorized. I was like, no, he actually says, and then like because I knew it. It was I don't know how I had a better brain back then, but I then was talking to it was just this incredible experience. Two of the leads were Zach Ward and I'm gonna embarrass myself because I genuinely everyone knows this. The guy I tried to bite in the movie. If you can, there's like clips where you can like zero in on who I try to bite. I should know his name. I don't. I've seen him in a million things and I love him. But I remember Zach Ward's name because Zach came up to me, gave me some tips on like how he was also a SWAT member. He gave me some tips on like how to not get like burns on your arm from some of the gear and shit like that. And he and I ended up starting a production company together, living together. Like we became friends for years after that. But yeah, I was in zombie or Resident Evil Apocalypse 36 hours maybe after I left the band. Yeah.
That's amazing. I was saying before we started recording that for any normal human being, that would be the highlight of their life. That would be the main thing on their resume. In your case, there's Grammy Awards and diamond selling albums and multi-platinum credits as a songwriter and producer. So it's just a little footnote at the bottom for you.
But to me, it wasn't. I'll be honest with you. You're right. If I'm being objective, I'm like, okay, that's like is what it is. But there's really no accounting for like what matters to you, what's important to you. I mean, that was a moment that I'll be honest with you. I still remember. This is going to sound so weird. I remember flying home from that, or flying back to Arkansas from that trip, and it was like a late night flight, and me and the flight attendant were the only people that were awake, and we were talking, and I just remember it's weird, like that was just a huge moment. Of course I was running from and sort of denying all the anguish and the emotional shit I was going through because of Evanescence. But still, it was like, that's still one of the things that sticks out to me. Like I forget conversations I had last week, but flying home from that, I just remember being so like grateful. I just had gratitude. I was just grateful for experiencing that. I didn't want to lose it. I didn't want to forget it.
I'm a proud Canadian. Do you remember where the filming was? Was it Vancouver, Toronto, a major market in Canada, or outskirts somewhere?
Okay, it had to be probably Toronto because Toronto. I've been up there for other. I partied a lot in Canada for Halloween and different movie sets and things like that because like there's so much stuff done in Canada and it's just so easy to access and so much fun. I remember spending another Halloween on a movie set there with Zach actually. I can't remember which film it is. One of I think Uwe. What's his name? I don't know if you know. He does a lot of these. It turns out he was tied into a lot of like political. I don't know if you want to call it corruption, but like he would basically get people to finance these huge films so that he could funnel money to his friends in foreign countries. And he would make these huge bombs and keep making these like $30-40 million bombs. So Zach was in a few of those. Vancouver, the only time I've ever been there was like during a tour where it's like up to the east, isn't it? Like from Arkansas, where I was at the time. Yeah. Sorry, I'm bad at that. So I'm not president.
Yeah, movies and albums love being made in Canada because you're getting like 30 to 40% off between the US dollar and the Canadian dollar. So for 7 years, I worked at Metalwork Studios in Canada, which is one of Canada's biggest recording studios. And you would get the biggest artists in the world like Eminem and D12 and Drake and Tina Turner and Prince and David Bowie. You would get these artists here in Canada recording because when you have like $1 million budget, and then you can get the same quality recording studio, but the Canadian dollar is 30 or 40% less. It's a no-brainer.
Also, if I'm being totally honest, Americans as a whole, I'm not gonna. This isn't breaking news. We aren't educated on other countries, so the comfort level of like traveling there versus traveling to say Africa, Germany, somewhere where there's the language barriers and saying the money
You're gonna pay more in Europe, right? So
yeah, the transfer rates, all that shit. So like with Canada, you don't have to cross an ocean. They speak English, even though more in Vancouver, they will give you shit for speaking English, even though they speak English. But like it does make it incredibly easy. But then you tack onto that the fact that Americans are rude. Americans are just we're rude. We're rude, mean people, and I don't like it. I wish we weren't, but like Canadians just typically aren't. They're just nicer people. So yeah, I
some
can't
of us are
imagine.
nice, yeah.
Yeah, I look. There's assholes everywhere. There's assholes in every group. That's why I don't discriminate in terms of like I will never hate you for the color of your skin, but I will hate you for your personality, like overnight. You know what I mean? It's like there are assholes everywhere, but there are more of them here than there are in Canada, in my experience, and that's solely based on my experience. And I'm born American. I love America. I believe that we do have great advantages, but we're not perfect. We are fucking. Oh, at the moment we're fucked. But like, if we survive this, we have great potential here. But Canadians have never like claimed this insane exceptionalism or whatever. They're just nice and they're better. Sorry, I had more fun in Canada. I've had less people accost me in Canada than in America. Let's put it that way.
Hey, anything nice you want to say about Canada, I will gladly accept on behalf of the country. I like to start these interviews by sharing with our listeners how the guests and I know each other, just to show the importance of networking, of fostering relationships, of building communities. So, in our case, about a year ago, I did an interview with Paul McCoy from 12 Stones, who's the male Wake Me Up vocals on Bring Me to Life, the debut hit
I want to make
single
it
from
clear.
Evanescence.
It is Paul McCoy and not Ben Moody.
That's true. That's true. And when I did the interview afterwards, I made different edits and short clips and videos and all that stuff. And I tagged you in a clip where he talks about going to the Grammys with you and Dave Fortman. Is that
Yeah.
Fortman? And he just talks about how excited he was, and you guys ended up winning the Grammy. He mentioned that you showed up like with a cane and a fake beard or something. So I sent you the video, and you said, "Hey man, thanks for the trip down memory lane." And that put us in communication. And I've been an Evanescence fan since the start, 2003, and not the start of the band, but the start of the growth and popularity. So we were in a dialogue, and I said, "Hey man, I'm a huge fan and I'd love to do an interview with you." And that's how we ended up here today. So we can thank Paul McCoy for this.
We can thank Paul McCoy for a lot of things, actually. I would love to give a shout out to him. And the only reason I said that whole it's Paul, not Ben, is because I get that a lot. I mean, it's a natural assumption to make. I was as far as people who are in the know, like I was the only other founding member that made it to the version of Evanescence that everyone knows. And but Paul McCoy, I don't think no one ever really gives himself enough credit unless you're Donald Trump. But no one really gives themselves enough credit for the things they do. Paul McCoy, I mean that dude. I mean, he said on like an interview we did with him, he told the story about how he was like he came up, he did his shit, he went home, he went right back to work. Like it was just this like it was a day in the life. But then, I mean, that dude flew to Romania. I mean, think about that.
You were talking about the comfort of not flying to random countries.
Dude, that was my first time out of the country. And I'm pretty sure it probably was his too. Because he and I are both country bumpkins from the South. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't grow up with a lot of money. I didn't grow up with a lot of reasons to travel. But yeah. He flew to Romania and was such a fucking great sport. That wasn't even his band. Because like all of this attention, all of this like this opportunity, all this shit that was going on, like he came and participated in and contributed to and was a huge part of. But like it wasn't in like he touched. I watched more than just the clip you sent me. I watched his interview. It's been a minute, but like I do remember him touching on the fact that like he had to deal with backlash because I can't imagine what that was like from his point of view on Wind Up Records because I've also been on I was on Wind Up for a long time. We were on Wind Up for a while before we made a record, so like we dealt with what it was like to like keep us sort of like on the line. They listen a little and they'd send us to NRG. We'd meet Seether. We'd meet 12 Stones. We'd meet Dave Fortman, Jay Baumgartner. We'd meet these people who it's sort of like, it was almost like they were kind of going like, see, we do make records, we do real shit. Like, so I've been in that position, but to have someone else, I've never been in the position of having released something on Wind Up Records and having another artist come along and have a better sales record, have a bigger hit, have a bigger whatever, and have to be like, it's like Creed was always sort of the financier of all of our dreams, right? But by the time I came along, Creed was kind of like, Creed was on rock.
They were the start of Wind Up becoming a force in the industry.
They literally were the sort of like, I know that it's not a nice term these days, but they were the sugar daddy for all of us, because Creed was sort of this passion project. It was a belief. It was Alan Meltzer and Diana Meltzer sort of like giving it a shot, and they made it big, right? And they hit big with Creed. Let's be honest. Like, you can say whatever you want about Creed. The motherfuckers sold huge for 3 albums in a row. That's huge. I'm sorry. Like, you can like or dislike them for all they want, but you can't deny the economics of it. So they're the sugar daddy. So we're all, like, we all know what it's like to be secondary to Creed at Wind Up Records. But we're the only band that got to experience what it was like to be us. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't have the sales record that Creed had. We had the only other thing that they had. So I will never, ever, ever fully be able to respect and acknowledge Paul's contribution. But also, I'll be honest with you, it was amazing to have another dude that was my age around the band. At that point, this is going to make me sound terrible, but like, the guys were like, I remember our first year, one of the Rocky and John, it was John turned 30. We were kids. John was an adult, like, it was nice to have somebody around that was just my age, that wasn't a girl I used to date. You know what I mean? So like, Paul and I had a great time. I love Paul for that. He came on Leno with us. He did video shoots with us. He did recording with us. Like, he gave a lot of his time, and I don't think he ever really got the respect and appreciation that he was due.
So I wanted to kick off this interview powerfully. So I reached out to one Paul McCoy from 12 Stones, and I have some kind words sent in, and he says, I've always liked Ben. I think he has an awesome ability to create songs and find the way to get the best out of the artists he works with. Tell him I send my love. That's from Paul McCoy.
I appreciate that. I'll be honest with you. You know what? If I'm being completely just exposed here, like, the thing about that, I really appreciate that he said, one of the things I've taken the most pride out of is being able to get out of somebody the best that they've got. Like, I'm a much better producer than I am a songwriter. But that sort of extends from life elements outside of music. Like, I try to find the best in people. I try to make their strengths shine, and I try to fill in the holes of their weaknesses. That's just sort of a natural byproduct of my upbringing, but I appreciate that. And I'm grateful for Paul. I don't for a second take it for granted how much time, and now having seen what it's like to be on the outside of the circle, how much shit you get when you're not, like, in Evanescence's good graces. Like, there's quite a backlash, and I'm sure I could tell from your interview with him, he experienced some of that.
It sounds like things have come full circle now, that over the years, there's been more understanding that it's not like he forced a male vocalist onto that song. Like, it was the record label, not him. And it sounds like after all these years that people just love that album and that song so much, and Evanescence so much, and they're hearing his side. And Amy has talked nice about him in the last few years as well. She brought him out on stage at a huge festival that went viral. So it sounds like finally, after all these, 23 years, he's getting his flowers, that he, thanks for the great song.
And good. And I'll be honest, he deserves it. He deserved it a long time ago. It's kind of hard for anyone to go this long and to be, dude, we're all in our 40s, except for John Rocky. You're probably older now. But look, we're all in our 40s. You can't get to this point and not have some sort of like, some grounding of all that shit, some sort of like equalization of all that to be able to like, there's insecurity at first where you're like, no, I like I proved that my thing did it. Like I had an idea and it did it. So I've got to protect any part of that was mine. And like, but dude, Paul saved the day. Paul didn't force himself on anything. He didn't want it. He didn't even know us. He didn't give a shit. Why would he? He didn't fucking know us. We're just label mates. He did this as a fucking team player. He did this to be a team player because we were hitting up all kinds of people. I mean, dude, I'm not going to go into everyone that was reached out to because look, I've actually have some relationships with some of them now. Whereas like 20 years ago, I was like, hey, fuck you. Remember when we said no? I don't know, but like no one wanted to touch a female fronted rock act that was it was a 2000, 2001, 2000, whatever it was, like 2002. No one wanted to touch that. Paul McCoy came in like ready to go. He fucking did a great job. He showed up for all his shit. Like, yeah, everyone, if you like Evanescence, that's all I'm saying. If Evanescence is important to you, if that played a part in any part of your story, which music does for everybody, no one has a life experience without a song attached. It just doesn't happen. Like, if that's important to you, you should be grateful to Paul McCoy. You should love Paul McCoy because Paul McCoy is the only reason our label said, okay, we'll put the album out, because they had all that shit, but it was until we agreed to do this one thing on this one song, they weren't going to put it out. We were shelved. We had been taken out of our luxury accommodations at the Oakwood, corporate housing center, and sent back to Arkansas. So Paul McCoy, I owe him a lot, and so does everyone who loves Evanescence.
Yeah, I guess another way to look at it is with that being the debut single from the debut album of Evanescence, who knows without that song, like that song comes out, the album sells 17 million copies, the Grammy Awards, the song itself, I believe, sold like 10 million copies. And then the band goes on over time to sell like 32 million copies. So if you're an Evanescence fan, even if you prefer all the music that's come out since that album, maybe you don't have any of that music you love without that first song.
Well, that's the thing. And in this, I want to make sure. I just want to reiterate: this is in absolute 0% way me trying to claim anything from anything that happened post me. That is not. I'm not confused about that. I have no one owes me anything for that. But without my era, there is no that. So yeah, you don't have to like. And honestly, I've given up long ago on anybody being nice to me about that. But Paul McCoy doesn't deserve any shit for anything. If anything, like, dude, this last 2 years, actually, Bring Me to Life has had this weird resurgence. And just the like in TikTok and things like that, people doing funny covers or like weird versions of it that like, because it was a song they grew up on, like, yeah, all of that exists because of Paul McCoy. We wrote it, but the label wasn't going to put it out. Paul McCoy came along, saved the day, gave 150% at every turn, and received 1% maybe of the acclaim that followed. So yeah, I think everyone should be more grateful. But this is coming from me, so like I almost don't want to. I'm hesitant to sort of like attach my support too thoroughly to anybody, simply because that will guarantee their denial by a lot of people, which is weird, but I'm sure you know what I mean. Like it takes one Google search to realize that like I'm a very divisive figure. I don't mean to be. I really don't.
Yeah, it's tough. Some people just want to see the world burn. Even with this podcast, like, I'm nobody, but I'll still get comments that are so random and so negative, like have nothing to do with the interview or my guest. Yeah. Just someone wants to see the world burn today, and you happen to have crossed their For You page.
It's funny you mentioned you phrase it that way, because like I'm one of those people who do want to watch the world burn sometimes, but like even me, I'm like, I don't get those people. The ones that you're referring to, like, to me, it feels like they're even like a different class where it's like, did you bother listen? Like, is it just this person's name? I'm sure, dude, if you've had anyone on other than me that ever left a band, or like, hell, you interviewed Buckner. Like, fucking Dave Buckner is one of my closest friends. I love Dave with a passion of 1,000 suns. And like, I mean, it doesn't matter. He didn't do shit. Dude, everyone's had their fucking time in a band, time out of a band, whatever. Like, but I can only imagine some of the shit you've gotten that you didn't do anything to deserve. You just all you did was ask questions. Be interested about music you're into. Like, what is wrong with that? Aren't you the literal, like, I mean, I'm not trying to blow smoke up your skirt, but like, you're kind of like the idea that we all have in our mind of a music appreciator. The person we think we're pleasing when we're making our shit, and then they I don't know, they happen to give a fuck about an opinion that isn't yours, and like all of a sudden they're the enemy. I've never been one to buy into that. Of course, if I did that, to be honest with you, not a lot of people would come crawl, come like nobody would come asking for fucking interviews if that was the case. You know what I mean? Because I'm not, I mean, I'm not the popular side to be on. It just is what it is.
I'm here as like the hype man for all the artists. I'm here because I
Right.
love music. I'm only interviewing guests that I love their music. I love what they've put out and contributed to the world. One of the people that I've interviewed, you mentioned Dave Buckner. I have him here on my wall of fame. These are the album cover, my favorite albums from guests I've had on the podcast. And I want to keep the positivity going. So I wouldn't have done my job if I didn't reach out to one Dave Buckner and get
Oh
some
shit!
kind words. So I'm gonna lay it on thick this interview for you. This is from
Fuck.
Dave Buckner. You're gonna feel great by the end of this interview. Dave from Papa Roach says, Ben is the embodiment of pure genius and a certified mad scientist in the lab. Whether he's crafting chart topping hit songs, fabricating bulletproof cable looms for arena rock shows, churning out mind bending and sometimes hilarious raunchy EDM, or making custom Bluetooth boom boxes, Ben is a simple force of nature that will not be stopped. That's all in caps. And he just happens to be one of my best friends. That's Dave Buckner, original Papa Roach drummer.
Fuck. You edited the show, right? Sorry, give me a minute, man. Uh, Look, I like I've that. I'm sorry, I'm not. I wasn't prepared for that. Um, Look, dude, not having known he said all that, I would have, if I was put in a situation where, and I can back this up, by the way. I'm gonna back this up in a minute. But if I had been put in a situation where I had to pick people to give an honest assessment of my time here on Earth, let's imagine an alien race has invaded, and they're trying to pick people to choose to sort of represent the human race. You know what I mean? Like, if I had to give my own credentials, Dave Buckner would be on the top of the list, because Dave and I have been through a very, very, like, it's not possible in a situation like this for me to go into the details of like the spectrum of experiences Dave Buckner and I have had together. And I really appreciate that. I don't even know how to respond to that. It's just that like I fuck. I'm at a loss. I'm sorry.
That's all good.
Buckner is one of those people that, like, I'm so grateful for them in my life, and I will tell the truth to, and I will listen when they tell the truth to me, and that's hard, because I'll be honest with you, Dave Buckner and I have been through some lows. We've been through some really fucked up times, like where we were both in a, in sort of a chemical straitjacket. We were not free. We were not. We've been enslaved together. We have been freed together. We have been in a band together. We've been creative together. We've been past that together. So I don't even know how to begin. I'm sorry. You really caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting all that. But I will say this: he's right about my boom boxes. I will get them right one day, and I tell you, I put a lot of passion and time into that. Other than that, yeah, like I can't really, yeah. I love Dave. I love Dave. I love him, and if it wasn't for him, like, man, there's just so much like very real talk that he and I can give to each other that you don't get in a lot of friendships. So sorry, I don't really have a man. I really wish I had a better answer for that, a better response. It that is someone whom I respect, and it really humbles me that he answered you in that way. If that, I don't know if that really wraps it up in a.
There's no correct response. There's no response that we're looking for. The main thing is we want to honor your life, your career, your discography. We want you to know how much people appreciate you and your music and your musical contributions. And we got that across with those two quotes. And I'm going to give you time to recover. So I will not give any more quotes for a while. I'll let you recover, and then
Thank
we
you.
can visit some more quotes
I
later.
will say this, if I can, like he was a big part of me choosing to do this and reach out to you because I saw he had done something with you, and I was like, okay, of all the people that, because look, you've interviewed a lot of people in there, a lot, and but you know, there aren't a lot of people who I'm just instantly as real with, like as Buckner. So he is a very big part of the why. It's like, yeah, I reached out to you, and I was like, you know, I wanted to. It was his was all I needed. Like he did his research and he's for real. That was all I needed. That's what I reached out to. So he played a big part in this happening right now.
Amazing. So I appreciate him as well. We're going to cover your full life, your career, your discography. There's so much to get to, but I want to get started all the way back at the beginning. Where does this love of music come from? Is there an earliest musical memory that stands out to you?
Yeah, yeah. Um, so I'm gonna give a little bit of a preamble here. Um, and I don't know why I feel this obligation to sort of be honest, but also respect my father's legacy now that he has passed. But in the 80s, a lot of us grew up with especially in America, where sort of your father being the only responsible party for you at any particular time, event, whatever, was was sort of known as babysitting. And there's a backlash to that today. Like I also take offense to that in terms of fatherhood. But back then it was like, oh Jesus Christ, what do we do? I've got kids by myself. It's like, so he used to park me. He would set up these elaborate like things where I thought it was attention given to me. I thought it was special. But like one of the first I remember ever was he setting up this sort of back when VCRs used to have this, like they were combined with video cameras, and they were like this whole thing. Recording something on VHS in 1983 or whatever the fuck it was insane. But like as soon as I was old enough to like sort of crawl to the TV, I remember seeing Michael Jackson's Thriller. And that became the obsession of my childhood life, like Michael Jackson's Thriller. The second video I ever remember seeing was Jump by Van Halen. And I was just like, somehow this is everything. This is everything in life. And everything after that was sort of like there was a reverence and just understood of like, this is the epicenter of all human civilization was MTV. We can get into the devastation of what MTV means in 2026, but in 1980, whatever the fuck it was, yeah, my earliest memories were Thriller and Jump.
Do you think that the start of your obsession with zombies was the Thriller music
100%.
video? Okay.
With horror in general, dude. Look, we could talk about zombies in a language that every Gen Xer in 2026 understands, because we all have this like cultural understanding of that. But werewolves, I mean, come on. But dude, from that, when I was like 8 years old, I was talking to my uncle, and I remember him pointing out my uncle Mark, who was a filmmaker, by the way. He because I knew the word metamorphosis. I knew the word metamorphosis because of fucking the making of Thriller. Like, and they explained, like, they do these like slides of like how it'll go from this version to this partial wolf to this. So yeah, it was a huge part. In fact, something I didn't touch on that I should probably bring up, because no one's ever gonna this is never gonna be on my resume. But there are 3 different film sets that I have been asked to teach the dance to in terms of zombies. Like 3 different film sets, and Resident Evil is one of them. Somewhere there is footage of of someone being taught the Thriller dance on the set of Resident Evil Apocalypse by me. And I don't know if that'll ever come out. I don't know if, I mean, dude, I would be so happy if just someone sent it to me. If you were on that set, if anybody, this was before cell phone videos and shit like that, but like, dude, if anyone, because like there was a big conversation about getting the rights to be able to have that on the behind the scenes. And I was like, you have to, like, this is so cool. But like, I do have a moment that I remember specifically where I was teaching that dance to people in full fucking zombie makeup, like on the biggest movie set I've ever been on in my life. I think still, I don't know if I've ever been on one bigger than, dude, that was huge. Cop cars on fire, entire buildings. It was insane. But like, yeah, like that was a big part of my zombie and horror. I loved it all. But that was
Zombies have been all the rage again since 2013 because of the Last of Us video games. So I don't know if you're a gamer, but Last of Us Part 1 and Part 2 are my two favorite games ever. And now there's the award-winning HBO TV show. So non-gamers are now obsessed with The Last of Us and zombies as well.
I'm obsessed, but not because the game. Like the last time I had any sort of like personal investment in a game was watching Silent Hill with Robert Davis, who not the guitar player from Revis, a completely different Robert Davis, who was also the son of Robert Davis, who I bought a house from for my mom like years later. But like I was obsessed with we were obsessed with, he was a radio DJ and I was a radio DJ. He got me a job. Like we were both like just guys up all night and whatever, but like he would play the game. Silent Hill was amazing. I was not a I was out of video games by the time that The Last of Us came out, but
You actually grew up, unlike the rest of us. That's good.
but like the like now, of course, you know, it doesn't take long to become a fan after watching the show. You're like, fuck, this is real. This is real. And they did a great job. I mean, Pedro Pascal, chef's kiss of a human being. Have you ever seen anyone so perfect or make you want to vouch for them more, root for them more? You know. Anyway,
People know you as a guitarist, as a singer songwriter, but your first instrument was actually the drums.
oh yeah, yeah. Um, Unfortunately, like, look, it got the better of my drumming and guitar playing. Eventually, arthritis sort of took both from me, but originally, I can't even begin to explain my obsession with drums. It kind of comes through with my solo shit because I don't have anybody to answer to. I have no one who gives a shit. I'm no one who has to like sign off on anything. So I go huge on that. But but like yeah, dude, in the early days, I used to I remember my mom after I gave up like two or three different times where like they had this summer trip they did to New York for my parents' business. People got to be, my siblings got to be a part. Every year we'd like take turns and we get to go to New York from Arkansas, which is like whatever. Like, and I gave mine up every time. I was like, I don't give a shit. I want a CD player. I want a drum set. That's all I want. I want to be able to play CDs and I want a drum set. And then after year after year after year, I started running this, not really scam, but like my own business, I guess you could say, out of the newspaper when I classified ads were free. So I would look up people's shit they were giving away in garage sales and go get their stuff and clean it up at nice. I was like 13, maybe 14. And like I'd clean the shit up and put paper ads in the newspaper and like sell their shit. Finally, I like saved up enough. And yeah, I talked to my mom and we met some guy about 3 hours away in a fucking garage in Stuttgart, Arkansas. And I got a drum set. And after 3 months of playing that drum set without cymbals in my room, like drum,
Just
like,
air cymbals. They're
oh,
not there.
because dude, 100%. It was, I knew where it went, so I was going to practice. And like, yeah, I got a set of cymbals, and yeah, dude, that was it. It was drums were everything. In the marching band, junior high, I was playing snare and all that shit, but I couldn't really like express ideas that way unless once I got the drum set, I got to play. I realized the limitations of it. Broke my heart. But then I met Amy, and I was like, I mean, like keyboards aren't so bad, you know. But yeah, drums to this day. I remember one of the most amazing two of the most amazing experiences I've had in my career was one. John Tempesta, who like White Zombie, like he plays with Colt now, he plays with everybody. But like I remember we were doing he played on a solo song of mine called Sanctuary, and he and I did drums together at the end. We did this like tribal drum thing, and there's video footage of it, and like, dude, I geeked out so hard on that. And the other was when Dave Campbell, who is, I don't know if his name's come up in your interviews, but he has done every string arrangement you've ever fucking heard on a popular song from the Rose to now. Like Aerosmith, don't wanna miss a thing, like that. Everything, every Evanescence song, like you name it, Dave Campbell did string arrangement. He called me in to do drum arrangements once, and I was like, oh, this is the coolest moment of my life. But yeah, I'm a huge drum fan, and guitar was kind of an afterthought after drums couldn't empower me to give my ideas to Amy, you know.
And Kirk Hammett was a major influence when you first started playing guitar?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, but if you come up in my timeline and he didn't, what are you doing? Like, what were you listening to? That, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, he's got the same job. He does certain things that he repeats, like we all do. Like, people giving him shit. People have given Metallica a lot of shit lately. But like, with the exception of the obvious, which is Lars, like, they're good musicians. You know what I mean? Lars is the only one who held him back. If we're being honest, you know.
When we scheduled this interview, I put out the bat signal to the Ben Moody fans, the Evanescence fans for fan questions. I got a ton of great questions here. A lot of questions about your other bands as well. And here's the first question. Some of them are music. Some of them are just fun and silly. And here's a silly one. So Mark Barnes asks, what is the secret to keeping and maintaining the perfect goatee? P.S. Thank you. Thank you to your contribution to the art of music. So that's from Mark Barnes.
Dude, this is terrible. I don't know, man. Like, I hate mine.
That's just a little baby goatee.
It's a baby one. Here's the thing. I've become lazier as I get older. And like, that's one thing I don't have to think about. But give me a week. Honestly, dude, I just happened to look in a mirror in the last week. I was like, oh, okay. Because I get really shaggy. When it goes over the lip, I'm done. I'm like, fuck this. I hate drinking anything, eating anything. I'm like, I'll cut it off. But no, thank you. I don't think I deserve that question. I don't have any tips because mine has been far from perfect. It was put there originally as soon as they could to disguise my awful chin. It runs in my family. Like, we have awful chins. The men in my family just don't have this jawbone that, like, you know, Hollywood requires. So like, yeah, I have no great answer for that other than let it go long enough to where like people don't notice whatever you disliked about your face to grow it, and then keep it there. You know?
I have a question about your birthday. Is your birthday January 22nd?
It is.
So I have a hypothetical birthday scenario for you. So my birthday is January 21st. So someday we're going to throw a massive party bash on the 21st. And once we cross midnight, it's your birthday party, baby. And we put all our resources into this one event. That's what I'm putting out there.
What are you doing in 2027? Why fucking wait, dude? We could both be dead by Christmas next year. What if we do this?
Let's just do it tonight.
No, let's do it for 21st, 22nd of next year. What do you say? And we got time. If we can't pull off a great birthday between, what is it, April? Are we in April now? We're April to January. If we can't pull that off, I'm in if you're in. That's all I'm saying.
Give me 48 hours and I can make something happen. Yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude. Okay. I'll be honest with you. You're going to be able to pull more strings than I can at this point in our game, dude. You're going to bring more lists, more names to that list than I will. But dude, I'm down anytime. That's amazing.
As soon as I saw your birthday was the 22nd, I'm like, I got to bring that up.
Dude, let's do it. I've got a pretty high bar with birthdays from when I turned 30. But other than that, my birthdays are kind of like a little lackluster. Let's do it.
I turned 41, so they haven't been so exciting either lately.
Yeah, 45. Yeah, it sucks. It's funny. Do you remember how old it seemed back when we were like in high school, like 40? Oh my God, dude, just kill yourself already.
It's funny how our perception changes. Now we think we're special. We're like, well, I'm not like those 40-year-olds when I was young. And it's like, you're exactly like the 40-year-olds.
Dude, I think that, and then I try to like carry something heavy up a flight of stairs. I'm like, oh, those knees are 40. Those knees are 100% 40, if not more, you know?
Yeah, when you sneeze and hurt your back, you know you're past 40.
Motherfucker, have you done that?
Oh yeah.
Oh God, that's humiliating. I've done that where you throw your fucking back out, like going, oh, let me grab a roll of toilet paper. It's like, oh shit. This is the most humiliating thing ever. Yeah, it sucks. Life is one long barrage of just humiliation.
It's all downhill from here. I'm a big UFC fan, and I remember Daniel Cormier was a champion in his late 30s, still fighting, I think, until about 41, 42. And he was joking, like, he's fighting these killers who are 25 to 29. And he's like, dude, I get out of bed and I pull my groin. He's like, you shouldn't be fighting at my age anymore.
It's true. And honestly, like, dude, respect that you have the balls to even fucking pretend. Like, dude, like I see a 20-year-old, I'm like, one, you know nothing. Like I love you and I appreciate you and I appreciate your hardship. But friend, child, you know nothing. But you want to get in a fucking like endurance match with me. It's like I will hold you in a chokehold longer than you can hold me. I can hold out longer than you can hold me. But if we go lifting a fridge up a flight of stairs, you win. Sorry. Like the only reason I have any advantage over you is knowledge. It ain't physical prowess. It's the fact that I've been hit for 20 more years than you. Like I'm just used to it. Like I got nothing to the fact that man would get in a ring with someone with something to prove. Dude, I can't even go to tattoo shop with somebody with something to prove. I'm just like, fuck you, dude. After 2 hours, I'm done. Eat shit. I've done 6.5 hours. I was your age once. I'm over it. I don't care. But like anybody who will get a fight with a 20-year-old is at my age is ballsy. Or is a really selective 20-year-old. you know?
So let's dive into your career with Evanescence. So we've talked about a few things already, but let's go to the early days of Evanescence, the very
Yeah.
beginning. How do you meet Amy Lee, and where does the idea of starting to write music together and starting a band together come from?
Well, it's funny. Looking back now, it's weird to think there's no reality in the conversations you have. I meet someone at camp, there's a basketball game going on. I know most of the cool kids there. I'm helping out with a musical guest or whatever. Like, if I'm being honest, I was pretty content in me being hot shit. Like, I knew everybody worth knowing, that kind of thing. And I was instantly humbled. There's some girl playing piano. And I was like, of course, me being me at the time, it's like I thought nothing about interrupting the game. I just walks across the fucking this like gymnasium of some college I've never been to. We're at summer camp, and she's playing Meatloaf, and it wasn't an easy part. It was real. It was like she was really playing. She was better at her instrument than I was at mine. I mean, and that was a rarity back then. Even though I wasn't very good, I'm not very good now. But like back then, I'm a 13-year-old or 14, whatever it was, in Little Rock, Arkansas, some summer camp. I'm outside of the professionals being played to be here, like I are being paid to be here. I was supposed to be the hot shit. She was clearly better than me. So I walked over to her. I was like, who are you? What the fuck is your deal? I was a little aggressive, probably. But I was like, who are you? Like, I just needed to know because I was a little intimidated, but I was also like obsessed. And we got to know each other. And then sort of we became close at that camp, like I just, we really just got a lot about music together. It's like I just enjoyed our conversations, man. It was great. And so when we got back to life, which I don't know if you remember summer camp, but that's an adjustment, especially when you meet somebody who's going to change your life forever. Like we all think that, like, I don't know I don't know what your history of summer camp, but like, I always used to wish I grew up Jewish because all my Jewish friends used to go to these like elaborate multi-state camps and meet all these people. We would go to some Baptist fucking college. We're like, one other church would participate or whatever. So our like ability to meet people was very limited. But Amy was someone who I came home just like sort of in a different place. I was like, okay, I just gotta experience this. I want to make music with this person. She like I don't remember the timeline, maybe a couple weeks, came to a Wednesday night at church, which if you're not involved in church, Wednesday night youth group is like it's like your Friday night, it's it's your social hour. She came in and she brought me a tape. She was like, I have an idea. Can you just make it cool? And I was like, wow, she thinks that like I'm the person who's gonna make it cool. Like I played into that as much as I could. I was like, oh fuck, I'm cool. It's awesome. So like, yeah. I'll check it out. I'll do it okay. I'll play it down. And like I played the song when I'm by myself. It's fucking amazing. It's a song called Solitude. And like I'm just like, oh my God, it's so dark and like it was just everything. It was everything. And I was like, from that moment on, yeah, I was just like, we have to do something. So from that moment on, we were a band. She and I were a thing. She and I, it was weird when people, most of the sort of like reaching out I got when I left the band was all about, it wasn't about success or about like, what are you doing and money and shit. It was all about like, are you okay? Because from the moment they knew me, having met Amy, like that was my thing, that was all that mattered, was Evanescence. And it was just that easy. It was just like, we met at camp, we exchanged some musical ideas. And from that moment on, there was no discussion. It's like, we have to do this. This is our life.
Before the band Evanescence, I had never heard of that word, period. So I want to read the definition for our listeners. So evanescence is the process of fading, vanishing, or disappearing quickly from sight or memory. It describes the quality of being fleeting, temporary, or ephemeral, often used in literary context to describe beauty, life, or fame that does not last, which I think is a great definition. So thank you for bringing that word into my life. How does that word come into your life, and how do you guys land on that name as a band, and what does it mean to you?
It is the least sexy story. It is like, because here's the thing, it was Nerdville. It was me with a dictionary. And we went through a lot of things. Childish Intentions was
That's a good one.
Childish Intentions was our I'll send you a picture. I have a cassette tape of our very first recorded demo ever, and it says Childish Intentions, and it's got the 3 tracks on it. The font, then I don't think Amy knows this. This is so embarrassing. I was obsessed. And when I say obsessed, I mean like, imagine what it took to be obsessed before the internet. Like, to be obsessed with an artist. I was obsessed with a band called Living Sacrifice. They use that same font. They use two syllables and 3 syllables. I mean, it was insane how much they wanted to be like Living Sacrifice, to the point where Evanescence like has, and me as Ben Moody has like siphoned members of that band off over the years, because like, yeah, dude, I was so obsessed. But that's all that was. And past that, we tried a few things, but then it was just like Evanescence came about because we were years in at that point looking for a name. And I was just like, fuck, there's a lot of cool shit I can do, or artists can do, with the letter E. The lowercase had a cool circular thing. And then I was just like, let's start with E. And if you'll notice, EV is pretty much at the fucking tail end. Dude, I went through the entire dictionary, letter E.
You almost ended up as an F band.
Dude, it was so close. If it wasn't for Evanescence, we would be an F band. But no, I found that, and I was like, what do you think of this? And she was like, cool. And that was it. It was literally, dude, it was a fucking Nerdville. It was a nerd day. It was, I looked through a dictionary. We agreed on it. It sounded cool. Because here's the thing. The definition I read said something about a ghostly manner, or like a specter, or something having to do with like something creepy. That was our shit. That was our jam. So I was like, oh, it's creepy. It's romantic. It is what it is. And that's all. There's no great intellect or depth to it, other than we just needed something and we put in the work and we found it.
I find that it's a perfect band name for the style of music, because there is something ephemeral about the music and haunting, and something not quite tangible, like a ghost that you can't put your finger on. So it ended up being the perfect name, I think.
I think so too. And I'm biased, so obviously I think that, but like,
so biased. Yeah.
It worked. It worked. Like I'm as biased as you can be, because that was my idea and it worked. Like I can't really there's no complaints there other than it is a long name. It's weird to pronounce. And like you said, most people, I mean, dude, there's a lot of people now. We've had 20 years. There's a lot of people. That's the only reference they have to that word. The only
I've
knowledge.
still to this day, 23 years later, have never heard that word used in context outside of the band. I've never I read 100 books a year. I've never seen that word in a single book
I've
I've
seen
ever
it
read. I've
twice, and it was
never heard
always,
anyone say
yeah.
that word in any context that's not talking about the band. So I assume that's a made up word
You
when
see,
I
like
heard the band.
Evanescence, like a different part of speech, I've heard twice, but never, yeah, like outside of I've never, which honestly, like worked to our favor. I mean, once it worked to our favor, once it became a thing where you had to know it, and it wasn't us spreading. You know what I'm saying? Like once the song "Bring to Life" came, you had to know that word because of the band. It wasn't the other way around. You know what I mean? I was never given that during a fucking spelling test. I promise you that.
I still wouldn't be able to spell it. I have to copy paste when I'm promoting this interview to make sure I never spell it
That's good stuff.
incorrectly. And if ever I write a book, I'm going to put the word Evanescence in there in a context that's not to do with the band, just so
Please
it's
do.
documented one time. You
Please do.
mentioned the demo. So you guys released three demos between 98 and 2000. What opportunities presented themselves once you had this physical thing you could give out? So it's more than just you guys hyping using your words that, oh, we're a band, you should check us out. There's basically your business card in audio form being like, no, we are good. Check this out. Can we play your venue? Can you promote us? Can you manage us? Maybe looking for a record deal. I hear that just from the demos, you were able to start getting radio play at local stations.
Yeah, I was going to ask you before I answer that. When you say we put out three demos, and according to your research, which are the demos that are? I just want to know what's like canonical. You
Yeah,
know,
so my understanding is there's two short demo EPs in 98 and 99, and then Origin as an album is
do they have
considered a
titles? The
demo but an
EPs?
album.
Is there the Sound Asleep? I've heard of that one. The Sound Asleep EP, is that one of them?
I didn't see the actual names. They
Okay.
just
Because I don't,
mentioned.
because here's the thing, I truly don't know because there's actually more that's out there that like the sort of time and the fans have decided what is canonical in terms of like what EPs are released. But I'll be honest with you, like I don't always know what people are talking about. There's Origin, which is like it's more than a demo to us. We released that as an independent CD. Like it was, I mean, we had a backer for like we went in with a local with someone to like actually print them because we didn't have the money to master and print. We used Origin to get signed because like I had an idea that I ripped from watching too many behind the musics. So I used Origin as the mastering of that to like get us a record deal. But before that, yeah, we would occasionally do like a show where I would personally like burn, which at the time was like 96, 97, about 1 and 2 fail rate on DVD-Rs, which were very expensive. So like there's a Sound Asleep demo, which was a 50 CD run that we sold at a radio station. Like we literally like, yeah, we got radio play from demos. I got to know people at I mean, it's Little Rock, Arkansas. You can imagine, like it's not LA. You know what I mean? Like if there's a local show, I know where the DJ's sitting. You know, like it's a Vino's. There's like dude. There's just no like there's no VIP in Arkansas. So like yeah, we would like reach out. We would go to shows. We would meet people, and yeah, our demos garnered some specialty radio play in terms of like that. We wouldn't be in regular rotation or anything like that. We would get like the local hour, or if there was like a public access radio, I knew like Brad and Shelly and like these people that ran the like Blitzkrieg on radio. Public radio was like 88.3 or something, which I did their fucking theme song in my apartment. You know, like we would get shit like that. Like I'd run a contest where it was a local radio store. Like you come down here at midnight, I'll give you a copy of the CD or sell it for $5 so I could pay rent that month. It was literally like that. So it wasn't until Origin that we actually got any sort of attention. I used that specifically to get in with people at labels, and then we did, and lined up was the only one that Well, Wind Up was the option we had, and we took it and went great, you know.
So we have a fan question from Andreas Aliciardi. The question is, what's the inspiration behind Before the Dawn? It's my pre-fallen favorite. So way back playback.
Man, I'm so actually glad you brought this up. Because about 3, 4 months ago, I actually was there's a I have a lot of friends that are in my life now that are from a period of time that are in the early 2020s where like a lot it's weird, like a lot of people in my life are very new friends from like a very extreme experience I had. And so we have this sort of like enjoyment of learning about each other because they don't know me from Evanescence, you know, they know me as just sort of a
The dude.
the guy who was a part of this thing, you know, like we experienced some traumatic things together, and like trauma bonds are very real. And so, you know, getting to learn about people after the fact, it's weird. It's like you have to like show them things about you that either are a given other, you know, outside of this scenario or like whatever. And one of the songs that I came across is like someone was asking me questions about like pre-evanescence, because there are people who have no, even if they learn that you were in evidence, they don't know. They're just, it's like some of my friends are under the age of 30, which is weird because like I was so out of the zeitgeist by that time, you know. And Before the Dawn was one that came up recently, and they asked me about that, and it's just like, man, that was one of my favorites that never got a full proper recording because it was so good. But it was basically just about um feeling trapped and feeling and believing. Like I've always had this obsession and fascination with the dream world, which played into a lot of like my experimentation with drugs and things, where like this other thing that we can envision, we can whatever. Before the Dawn was about like about seeking out that world and getting so lost in that, getting so deep into that, like committing to it so fully that by the time dawn comes, you're gone. Like you leave this world for that one, which was fueled a lot by teenage romanticism and like this idea that like forbidden love and whatever. Which, by the way, if you're a teenager in 10th grade right now and like you have a curfew, you can very easily lose yourself in this idea that's forbidden love. It's like, no, bitch, you have a curfew, you got school tomorrow. You know, like, but that was kind of like we were very dramatic, and a lot of our early work was about that. Yeah, it was Before the Dawn was just about the dream world exceeding reality so much that you lose yourself in it before you wake. And that's your way of being together with someone you meet in the dream world. It's a lot of our shit's about very young, unrealistic, romantic ideation, you know, if I can. Not to just, I don't mean that to dismantle it at all. I don't mean that to demean it. It's still a very important song to me. But like, you know, most of those early songs came from this like very teenage view of what love is and what romance is and what hardship is, I guess, you know.
So you guys independently released the album Origin. You
Yeah.
attract the attention of Wind Up Records. They signed you in 2001. 2 years later, the debut album Fallen comes out in 2003. And I just want to share the insane accomplishments of this album, and then we'll sink our teeth into it. So the album had 4 singles: Bring Me to Life, Going Under, My Immortal, and Everybody's Fool. All 4 are massive hits worldwide. The album goes to #1 in 10 countries. It's certified diamond in the US for 10 million copies sold, sells over 17 million copies globally, making it the 7th best-selling album of the 21st century period. It's one of the best-selling debut albums of all time, up there with Guns N' Roses, Appetite for Destruction, up there with Linkin Park Hybrid Theory. It gets nominated for 6 Grammy Awards and wins 2 of them. And we have a fan question that dives perfectly into this. Roberta Yared asks, how did it feel to be so young and suddenly achieve such huge success with Evanescence in 2003?
When you put it like that, um, look, I've had a lot of time to reflect on this, and it's very easy for me to put things in perspective now. At the time, there really isn't a great assessment of that, because at the time, one, it's happening to you, so you're in it, and it's like, it's fucking weird. Okay, it's fucking weird. It's going to other countries and seeing your face the size of billboards. Like, it is, you're covering billboards in other countries, not billboards, excuse me, buildings where it's like, it is, they do the thing where they do that in Hollywood, sure, but like, you don't see it everywhere. But like, you go to Tokyo and you're as big as a building, and it's just like, it just it's so much. It's so much, because like, you're not different. You're not a different person than you were in January of that year, when no one in the world knew who the fuck you were. Fast forward less than a year, everyone in the world seems, and at the time, it seemed like you can't go anywhere without being attached to this thing. And it's amazing, because it's like, it's everything. It's everything. It's like, it's validation, because like, there's the thing you have lived for and devoted everything to, and you have stood up through all of the obvious doubt and like, and sort of judgment and all these things where it's like, you're insane. Like, why would you put all your eggs in this basket? So it's validation. It's validation that your feelings and that these things that meant a lot to you mean a lot to other people. It's fucking weird, because it's tied to commerce. It's economy. It's like, this thing that kept you alive at times was now not yours, but you still owed something to it. And in a way, I respect that and I appreciate that. I respect what we owe to people that were fans, that like were keeping our career alive, but also like, they were connecting to it. It was like, there's a respect for it, but there's also this like responsibility sort of like implied, that you didn't understand. It wasn't explained to you. It wasn't, you thought you knew, you thought you understood, you watched every behind the music, you get this, and you're going to be savvy and be smart, but you're also a traumatized child, who suddenly, you and this other person who are going through a very bumpy growing phase. Like, you're both young, you're children, you're fucking children, 21, 22. You're all of a sudden like, you say something and dozens and dozens of people instantly act to accommodate your whim, your will, your desire. There are people that look to you as sort of the answer, and you don't have answers for them. You're just like, so it's everything. It's like, it's all of the good, all the bad. It's impossible to give it like a great grounded thing, because it's like, dude, I was also 21, 22, 23. Like, these years are terrible for someone like me, because I can legally buy alcohol. I'm an adult, so I can do whatever the fuck I want. You give me a ton of money. You give me a ton of, like, everywhere I go, someone is like propping you up to put a drink in your hand, put a cigarette in your mouth, light it, and tell you you're fucking brilliant. And like, that happens every day and every day. And it's like, I don't feel brilliant. I don't feel good about this. I feel amazing that I can do this for a living, but like I'm angry, and I feel weird, and I feel hurt, and I feel alone, and like, Amy and I are estranged, and she's the only person I have in this whole thing to have context, to have something before all of this. Because even though I have great relationships with John and Rocky now, and Will was in the band, and Will sort of gets overlooked in a lot of this stuff, because Will has, by his own choice, by his own decisions, he wants to maintain privacy and anonymity, and I don't want to like fuck over him, but he also, in my opinion, like, because I didn't have the same desire for anonymity and whatever, like, I feel he got shafted in a lot of stuff, and he doesn't get mentioned in a lot of things. But like, Will and I learned how to play together, dude. We were in the church basement, like, getting kicked out I was playing drums on like the orchestra guy's kit, and he was playing bass. Like, Will. I want to leave Will where he is because it seems like he wants to be there. Like I'd love to give him more credit because he's due more than he gets. But like, Will was a huge part of that, but he and I were estranged because it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same as what Amy and I were going through. And I also did not have a single fucking clue what it meant to have trauma, to deal with shit that like when you have a perception of the room that's different from everybody else's and you don't have a context for that, it makes you feel wrong, broken, alone. So yeah, it was this unbelievable dream come true, but it was lonely. It was isolating and it was terrifying, and it gave me the resources to do terrible things, which I did. I did because it was supposed to fix everything. This was the dream come true. And man, like I wanted it to be that so bad. I believed in it and we did it. Dude, no one gets to do what we did. Like we're kids from Arkansas and we were right. This thing that we fucking were so convinced of, and everyone was like, I mean, great, but be realistic. It's like, no, we were right. Other people feel this way. There's something to be said about this. Like, there's a movement to be had here. There's community to be found. And man, fame will fuck with that. Money will fuck with that. And trauma will fuck with that. And I got all three. And it I want to look back and give it this like I have such warm feelings about it. But if Amy and I were in a place where at the time we could have spoken to one another without the vitriol, we could have been like friends. I feel like both of us would have really, really gotten so much more out of that, and in turn been able to give so much more out of that, than we have. So sorry, that's not very. Yeah, I mean, look, all the things you said are great. They're great, dude. I will never take for granted winning Grammys. That's the highest accolade that our peers can give us of our industry. But and like it can't fix things.
Unfortunately, the music industry is one where it's almost encouraged for you to drink and do drugs, and the crazier you get and the more you party, the cooler you are. Like you think of the Rolling Stones or the Guns N' Roses or the Motley Crues, the worse your behavior is and the more fucked up you are, the better, essentially. And
Also,
people love you more for it. And you are presented with free
yeah.
unlimited alcohol at every show, and
Oh my
everyone is
God.
offering you drugs for free. And so all these bands I've interviewed that you see here, like I've done hundreds now, almost all of them have given into temptation for drugs and alcohol, and almost all of their stories are a redemption story of eventually getting
Yeah.
sober and clean, and then they can enjoy it looking back, and they're in a better place now
Yeah.
because it's such a
That's a
difficult
weird.
industry.
It's a weird thing that people brush over it because it is so common that there gives this sort of false impression of understanding. There isn't there isn't a lot of understanding outside of this business for the degree to which things get crazy, because most of us get here in bands. Like, look, there are pop for singers that they're an exception, but if you're in a band and you make it, you got a band from something. Like you find your way to a band because you're looking for something that isn't there, and most people who write songs that communicate with the masses, that connect with masses, they have dealt with something that people are relating to, and unfortunately, most of the time, that's bad. It's bad. It's even if it's like not fueled by sort of more by an exceptional out of the ordinary trauma, out of the ordinary circumstances. Like people deal with just the coming of age shit, That's why so many songs were, dude, how many songs when you are driving down the road, like they come on and they hit you. No, most of them aren't from your 20s. Some of them are. Most of them are from like, dude, the ones that like get you in that fucking way where you're like, you don't care. You don't care about being cool. You don't care about anything. It's because they fucking spoke to you at a time. There's that. There's that we always do. Then there's the ones that like a lot of bands. One thing, Buckner, dude, I was surely you can't go unnoticed. Now one of the most mainstream things in the world is to reference cut my life into pieces. It's how many fucking movies and TV shows have fucking thrown that in there because it's like
It's gone viral all over again on TikTok.
yes,
And whenever I see a viral video, I send it to Dave and he's like, man, this is the song that just keeps on giving.
dude. Dave and I are that bring me to life and cut and
Last resort. Yeah.
Last Resort. We just go back for it. He's literally the last thing he sent me on Instagram was this guy doing this like insane version of Bring Me to Life. Whereas like it was like what are the 70s funk progressive whatever the weirdest chords imaginable, like the Michael, what's his name? It was like that guy who does all that shit. Like he like it was a version of that, a Bring Me to Life for that. And the guy was like looking at the camera all stoically and like had text like apologizing the whole way through. It's hilarious. And it only works because it is ubiquitous. But Buckner's the one of going back to my relationship with him, it's like we're this great, it's a great counterpoint to have because we both have one of those in our lives that like has nothing to do with us now. But still, once a week, there's something where it's like it's relevant. Yeah. So
When I think about it now, you and Buckner each have perhaps that's the two biggest songs of the
era,
2000s, right?
yeah.
Last Resort and Bring Me to Life. That might
They,
be the
they have a
two
man.
single biggest songs. Like Bring Me to Life is about to hit 2 billion plays on Spotify, which doesn't even make sense. Like, I go to the arena here to watch the Ottawa Senators and there's 20,000 people. And I look around the arena and I'm like, wow, 20,000 people. This is so many people, is crazy. And then you see your song has 2 billion plays. Like you can't even fathom what that means.
Okay, I'll let you know a little industry thing. Like there was like for a long time I was actually in a part of a kind of before Spotify, before streaming. This is when airplays meant a DJ somewhere in America played your song. It was programmed, it was scheduled, it was reported, and it was monetized. Okay. Before all this, like I remember getting this award that was for two different songs that was 1 million domestic airplays, which like some Eagles and songs had like just reached or whatever. It was like insane. And then I got one that like I think like 10 people have like the 2 million. Like there's 2 million fucking domestic airstreams of Bring Me to Life and My Immortal. And it was like weird to be in that club before streaming. Now it's like when you put streaming numbers out and you're like, I'm sorry, did you say billion? As in a
With a
million?
B?
A million? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, that's insane. Yeah, that'll never, because of how big a deal they made out of us hitting 1 million, like airplays of two different songs and then 2 million. I still don't think I have the capacity to really contemplate or process reaching billion levels. But like, it's insane. It's crazy. But yeah, he gets it. Honestly, I hear his shit more than I hear mine. Like I hear that song specifically, like it has become the quintessential go-to to represent teen angst. Like in any medium. It's like cut my life. Dude, it's like become a joke. Same way Wake Me Up has. Like, but it's still valid. You know what I mean? Like I know more than just Buckner in that band, and Buckner knows, Amy and shit. Like we for each of us, for all of the members, like we all kind of appreciate the, I don't say significance. That feels self-important. Like the just sort of the ridiculousness of it all. You know, like you can't deny that we were not alone, which makes us not special. You know what I mean? Like we were the ones that had an opportunity, had the right timing, opportunity, and medium to bring to the forefront this feeling, but we were not special in that. You know what I mean? And that's one thing I always take from our success is like a lot of people, especially from my hometown, they to hear them describe people I knew growing up and stuff, like hear them describe it is weird because it is not exceptional. It is like it's the it's the unexceptional nature of it that I cling to, that I credit for its success. Is that no, people like adhere to it because they felt that. You know what I mean? Like I consider it honorable to be a voice of the generation that people kind of give shit to or like make fun of now or whatever. But like we were the first ones to like flat out say we're struggling with this shit and it's fucked. Like why is no one talking about this? And I honestly look, I don't take credit for it, but I was a part of. I'm sorry, like we do deserve some credit for all of us, like bringing it to the forefront that like we're not this whole like commercial this going to the mall and buying things version of life is not helping anything. We all go to the mall, we all buy shit, we feel miserable, and we should talk about it. I love that. I love that. There's money that came along with that. There's fame that came along with it. There's all this great shit. Fine, that's fleeting. But what is it fleeting is the fact that it was popular because people got it. You know, I almost wish we were more fucking like Papa Roach in times when we were like, because he said it pretty bluntly. You know what I mean? Like, we still tried to be like, I don't know, we tiptoed around a lot of things. We're being artistic and poetic. But like, they just straight up said, like, fucking like, cut out, like, dude, like suffocation, no breathing, all this shit. Like, he just was not pretty about it.
They went for the jugular with that one.
They went for the juggler, which is honestly like what I've done so much. I've tried so hard to do sense Evanescence. You know what I mean? Because there was so much devotion and tribute paid to being poetic, being pretty about it,
So you mentioned how young you guys were when this album breaks through, and I have visual representation. This is you guys in your early 20s. Look at these two babies. I mean, how can you imagine looking at these two and the amount of success and pressure and the spotlight is on your life? What can you say about this picture? So because you have the Fallen album in your hand, we know this is 2003 because the album's out.
2003. Yep.
So what are we looking at in this picture? Why is everyone so happy and smiling? What is going on here? Do you remember the show or the tour or the moment?
No. And here's the truth about this picture. And why this one has stood out to me is okay, this is gonna be weird. I'm gonna go on a little bit of a road trip here, okay? And looking at this, yeah, I'm sorry, it deserves it. There was a point during my marriage when who is now my ex-wife sent to me a photo and she goes, look, it's real. And I go, what do you mean? She goes, it's the only photo I've been able to find of you really smiling during our marriage, during like our time together, because there's like apparently a very big tell for me, or a big giveaway on for me. And I don't, when I'm hurting and I don't smile for real. And I didn't realize how common it was. And I started like, because of that comment, I started pouring through shit in my past. And what is very notable about this picture is it's the only one that I've ever been able to find where Amy and I are actually, because I know her very well. I know her from that time very well. I don't claim to know her now, but from that time, like if I look at this picture, she and I, it's one of the very few times when she and I were genuinely just being the two of us that got us here and enjoying the moment. I love this photo. I love this photo because it is one where we're actually genuinely smiling, and there's so much media where she and I are just expertly playing this part where we don't even acknowledge each other's presence really. We know who's going to answer what questions, and we sort of like are not being ourselves. But I love this photo because this photo is proof that there was a moment where there were a few moments where she and I we just got to fucking be there, you know? And I love that because I denied us a bunch of those. She denied us a bunch of those. We had more opportunities to have those than we experienced. And I'm grateful for that. Like we didn't ruin that. you know, and let's be honest, dude. Like, there's no greater time in life than your early 20s. Like, you're free, your body is on your side, the world is on your side. Like, you don't have the same sort of like accountability for what you do with your days. We were just living the dream in that one moment, you know. I hope she feels that way. I don't know how she feels about that picture. I don't know if she's ever seen that picture, but I know her and I know me well enough to know that in that moment we weren't lying. And that was great. That's great. Whoever took that, I'm grateful. I found that years ago on a Tumblr, which I don't know if you remember Tumblr, but someone started Tumblr that I came across by accident and I was like amazed. They had shit I had never seen. They had shit I didn't have. They had shit from high school. Like, it was crazy. And I was just like, oh my God. I started like snagging screenshots just so I could have it for my own posterity, you know?
The album Fallen was produced by Dave Fortman, who's one of the, I mean, this is a mega producer. How did he become a part of the project and what did he bring to the table?
All right, I'm gonna start first. I'll answer the second half first. And I want to be clear. I know that this lends itself to sounding very arrogant, but I want to make it clear, like, what a fucking skill it was. He knew how to deal with David and I, which was David and I are producers. I'm very confident and I'm very qualified in my job as a producer. Like it, but back then we were that, but also without any fucking evidence to back it up. And also, I was so protective of my vision. Like, now people will tell you, you ever talk to John LeCompte, actually ask him about the my arc in terms of like my creative control versus my experimentation. Like, Dave Fortman knew how to handle me, which was like, I didn't realize at the time how brilliant that was. And like, because the thing is what he brought to the table were things that, like, to this day, I'm like, no, he was correct. Absolutely. That ended up leading to this other, like, for instance, the outro of the whole album, at Whisper, which we ended up closing every fucking show for the entirety of the Fallen album cycle. Like, even after my departure, they closed with Whisper. That outro that stemmed from a bridge thing, all day Fortman. Like, it was. I remember where we were. We were at this fucking rehearsal space. We had just played an hour of water bottle basketball, which was just like putting a trash can in the middle room, and I was the best at getting the fucking half full water bottles in. I was like, let's do more of that. That makes me feel fun. So he's like, we have nothing to do in a rehearsal space. We're not a band that plays in jams. We fuck with Pro Tools, And he just had this. He had a way. I remember him like baby stepping me in to an idea where he was going to change something fundamentally, and I went along with it because the way he did, the way he handled it, that was his brilliance. Was he didn't fuck with something just to put his stamp on it, but when there was something that could be better, he found a way to get through to me. And like, today, that's not an accomplishment. Like, I'm a guy who was known, dude, I'll try. I'm gonna push your limits more than you're gonna push mine. I'll find. Let's try anything. Let's fuck with it. Plus, especially if it challenges something I dig, like, holy shit, what if it could be better? Because if I dig it this much and this is better, we got to try it. Let's do shit. Back then, dude, I was a tyrant. There's stories about me are true. Like, before Evanescence, dude, it was an idea that I just had to prove. So Fortman found a way to like make us better without challenging that. And to this day, I don't know how we did it because I have a hard time producing bands. I have a hard time dealing with it because I'm just like, fucking God, I gotta like bring the drummer around to this idea the singer should do. Like, go fuck yourself. Like, but even though it's like I'm totally wrong, but it's like that's how impatient I am. Fortman had that thing, and I didn't know he was the powerhouse he was. I didn't know that he came about because no one wanted to touch us, and like, the label once again like called in someone they had a relationship with, and like, we had his manager who ended up managing Evanescence. We didn't have a manager. Amy and I went and flew down for a dinner or I think David was with us. Yeah, we flew down to New Orleans or somewhere in Louisiana. He like stopped. He got off the fucking crocodile hunter or something or other. He was out with Three Doors Down, like literally fucking like wrestling alligators. Like that's Dave Fortman. Like he came off a boat doing that to come have dinner with us, and we're like, "Do you want to produce our record?" And he's like, he didn't have anything ideas that we thought sounded stupid. He was nice. We wanted to make a record so bad, we did it, and it turned out to be brilliant. It turned out to be a great choice. It turned out to be the only choice that was right for us. Like I don't ever want to like regulate or sort of put him in a basket of like our only option. He kind of was that, but he was that because no one else would have let us do our thing, but also brought us to like the place that we needed to be to put out that record. You know what I mean? And also, I still love it. I talked to him on the phone March. What's the April? It's March. It's the beginning of March. I spoke to him on the phone, because he started showing up in my. I'm bad at phone text. I rarely look at Instagram, but occasionally like, somebody I care about pops up, and I'm like, oh, and I click on it. He's like doing all this great stuff now with his health and shit like that. So I reached out to him. But I love him, dude. He, without him, there's no Evanescence. Like anybody that loves Evanescence, like without him, dude, the label would have never put us in the studio. Believe me, we were there for 2 years, like you brought up already. We were there for 2 fucking years before we ever stepped foot in a studio with Dave Fortman.
Well, I have some insider information about that initial meeting because
Uh-oh.
I have kind words from one Dave Fortman, and he says, I love Ben. We hit it off from the initial meeting when he and Amy came down to New Orleans to talk about doing the record. Just an incredibly talented dude and an amazing songwriter. Being able to write all those songs at such a young age is really astonishing to me. My songs sucked at that age. Ha! We also had some serious laughs and good times during the record. He was a gigantic part of Fallen, and I'll forever be grateful for what he brought to the table. That's from mega producer Dave Fortman.
Well, he's very kind. Look, Dave and I got each other pretty well, and I'm glad he actually specified because I felt terrible when I was giving the answer to the previous question. I was like, wait, was Dave? Because I thought maybe David Hodges was not there in the initial meeting, and I remembered it that way, and I was like, wait, that doesn't make sense. They were there. I still don't know why he doesn't. I need to check with him like why he wasn't there. I don't remember why he wasn't, but Fortman just confirmed like it was just me and Amy. Yeah, it was Fortman and his now ex-wife, and we had dinner. Yeah, dude. To say that we shared some laughs is such an understatement. He was like driving comedic and like sort of restorative force behind the making of that album because he was fucking so hilarious. Like that is one of the funniest dudes. But he would find these ways to just say shit that just like become these running jokes that are still a part of my life now that all stem from that. He's the perfect producer for us because he never stepped on our toes, which is hard to do, especially when you consider like, dude, we were so fucking like just like indoctrinated into the gospel of us. I had this idea and I had to fucking prove it or I had to see it through exactly. And so yeah, Fortman, man, without him, dude, well, we're not having this conversation. I'm working somewhere and no one gives a fuck about my opinions of shit that happened 20 years ago.
We have a fan comment from Jordan Vaughn who says, I got to meet Ben at Much Music after he left Evanescence. Such a nice guy. I can't wait for this interview. So just a nice comment.
I appreciate that. I'll be honest with you, man. Like, I've started to learn to take shit like that to heart a little more. I denied myself any sort of truth or like feel goods about anything anyone said to me that was nice because of all of I received a lot of hate, for things that I did or things that I said that were misunderstood. But like, I sort of like, I had to just detach myself from any opinions about me or Evanescence for a long time. So like, it's nice to hear that because I'll be honest with you, from the moment we did our first gig as a like a touring actor, a, a national or international or a signed band. Let's say that. Like it, it, it was a very big priority to me to be kind. Like I didn't want people to like us, like our music, and then be robbed of that, or I didn't want that to just sort of be extinguished by us as people because we're flawed and we whatever. So like I go out of my way to people are humans. I'm a human. Also, every fucking dollar I have, every gig we've ever played, every fucking great experience I've had is made by a minimum of 100 different people. That did a part, that did a job, and I get all of this glory for that. I get all of this I get all the reward. I get to be the one on stage, or I get to be the one that people asked for interviews 20 years out down the road. So I made it a point, dude, I wanted to always be reticent and be grateful. And then when I got a lot of reputation for being this horrible tyrant because of things that I either did or did not do, I appreciate shit like that. I appreciate people that remind me that I wasn't always, because sometimes I'll be honest, a lot of times the reports people give that are detrimental to me, they weren't me being mean to them. They were me being fucked up and just, passed out or not showing up for something because I was fucked up or in a hospital or around the other side of the globe climbing a mountain and just completely unaware of, whatever. So
This episode has been brought to you by the Women in the Music Industry podcast. It's hosted by music producer Rob Wells, who has worked with global superstars like Justin Bieber, Ariana Grande, and Selena Gomez. Through his 1-hour interviews, he shines a spotlight on the remarkable women who are breaking barriers and making their mark in the music industry. Some of his notable guests include Morgan Lander of the multi-million selling metal band Kitty, and Pam Shane, who co-wrote Genie in a Bottle for Christina Aguilera. If you're a fan of the Joel Martin Mastery podcast, you'll love the Women in the Music Industry podcast, which is available on all platforms. You make your exit from Evanescence in October of 2003, and you dive in headfirst into songwriting and producing. Yeah. And man, you had a massive 2004. So listen to what goes on in 2004. So you work with Avril Lavigne on the song Nobody's Home from the album Under My Skin. The song goes to #1 in Canada and Belgium. It goes gold and platinum in 3 countries, and the album itself sells 10 million copies. If that's not enough, the same year, you work with Kelly Clarkson on Because of You and Addicted from the album Breakaway. This is you as a songwriter, producer, and guitarist. The song goes to #1 in 8 countries. The song sells 6 million copies, and the album sells 12 million copies. I'd say you're probably feeling a little bit better exiting Evanescence, where the future is uncertain. You think, man, was that everything? Was that my chance? Is that as good as it gets? And even though you believe in yourself as a songwriter, as a producer, as a guitarist, you never know, despite your talent, how many other factors there are in the industry that can work against you. And then the very next year to have, the massive success with 2 of the biggest artists in the world. What did that success mean to you now on your own?
I don't think that I personally have ever given enough deference to how monumental and how important Avril and Kelly were to my career. I've given them credit, but the thing about that is that it came at the weirdest time. Okay, because what a lot of people don't understand about my leaving Evanescence is that it was the only move I had that would preserve it in my mind at the time. At 44, 45 years old, I can look back and go, oh, there's so much. Dude, I would have handled so many things differently. You know what I mean? Just in communication alone, just in the ability to say the things that I was feeling and address the situations between Amy and I. We were children that were going through this horrible personal thing, but also achieving this insane, dude. When I left the band, you gotta understand, we were in fucking multiple touring buses. Like, can you imagine kids from Arkansas in high school thinking about the one tour bus they might have one day? And then we have discussions where it's like, is my tour bus going to be in the same country as her tour bus? At the same time, like, that's insane. Okay. So let's put aside, like, for a moment that no one could have made a great decision there. But I genuinely, in my heart of hearts, like, the thing that mattered was not being right or winning. It was that I didn't know that anyone would ever give a fuck what Ben Moody did or said about anything ever again. No, there was no confusion in my mind about who the star was in our band or whatever. It's like everything was very clear in that moment. I might have had some flights of fancy before that, but in that moment it was clear. And so I didn't know what the future was going to hold. I certainly had nothing ready to go. The only reason I got on Resident Evil was because my manager at the time knew where I was and knew that, like, I mean, like, salvage something. You know what I mean? Like go do anything. So he, like, went out of his way to make it happen for Resident Evil. So I get home from Resident Evil, and it's about, what, 5 days since I've left the band. Like, not even. I had no furniture in the house. I bought this house for my parents over the phone because it was Robert Davis, who got me a DJ gig back in the day. His dad he was Robert Davis Jr. He was also Robert Davis. Like, I remember driving my mom by the house when I was like 18 years old. I was like, I'm gonna buy this house one day. And I did. I went and just showed up at his doorstep and his dad remembered me, and I was like, hey, I'm gonna buy your house. And so, like, we started getting into some ideas for, like, doing real estate gigs together, well, whatever. Like, I'm literally just like I have nothing, and I bought a car on the way home from the airport. I took a taxi to a Jeep dealership, bought a Jeep, drove to the house. I bought over the phone, brought my parents over. Did the whole, like, I'm giving you this house, whatever. My dad was too prideful to take it at the time, and blah 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 blah. So I'm there, and I'm just like, I get a call to go. Fine, I come back. I get a call. Hey, Jay Baumgartner, and I was like, oh, Jay Baumgartner, who I'm sure. I mean, I don't even know how many people you've interviewed that have worked with him. I mean, he owns NRG Studios. He's a legendary producer and mixer, and from that moment on, was a guardian angel of my fucking career, because Don Gilmore was at NRG recording Avril. He's talking about needing a guitar player. Jay and I had the same producer, Dennis Ryder. Jay was like, dude, the Evanescence guy just fucking quit. Like, he just bailed. No one knows where he is, but I know where he is. And it's true. No one knew who I was, because that was the one rule I had. Management was like, don't fucking answer the phone for anybody but me. You don't talk to anybody. Because at that time, it was actually, there was legal stuff. I didn't realize that about our contract with Wind Up, that if I didn't say certain things, he didn't have to, like, it was very weird. And, like, it's sort of like, it was the difference between me leaving and David Hodges leaving. There's a big difference. And a lot of it was the fact that David Hodges was kicked out, and then I had the choice of being like, no, I might come back. I'm taking a break. Like, I had to, like, say these things to the label, whatever. But Jay was like, dude, he needs a guitar player, and, like, maybe, like, they could use some more songs. So I was like, I don't fucking have a clue how to do that, but I have nothing else going on. I'm high as fuck on the, like I just got off the movie set, right? And I'm talking to them about producing the soundtrack. So I was like, dude, I got ideas. I'm literally on cloud nine. So I fly to LA like the next day, and just on a whim, I was like, book me in this. There was this hotel now called the London, that was the Bellage, that I had stayed at during a mixing thing that Dennis. I was like, book me in that hotel again. I love the hotel. A lot of things happened between me and that hotel in the years to come, but, like, I ended up living out of that hotel for like half a year on more than one occasion. Like, it became the sort of, like, the home base for a lot of my debauchery, and a lot of relationships that I developed, in the lounge or bar of that hotel. It was just, that's a lot of my today career. Anything that exists is because of that. So anyway, I fly there. Avril, I know Don Gilmore only from the brief interaction we had when we wanted him to produce Evanescence. He produced Linkin Park. I was fucking huge fan of the production of Hybrid Theory, and, like, And then he was, from that moment on, it was weird. It was like every single time I did an album, an NRG, a full album, Linkin Park was in the other studio doing one of theirs. It was this weird, constant, like, in my life where Chester and I become friends, and you know, like, because he had different social interests than the rest of his band, so he and I aligned and whatever. Um, but like, I go and I show up, and I have no fucking clue what I'm doing. I've never done a songwriting gig outside of me and David Hodges, which ended up just becoming Evanescence. Like, I had done Evanescence, I've done David as a producer songwriter. We just fold that in. It was like there was no language, there was no context, and like I fucking literally am nerves of, like, I'm frazzled. I'm like, I'm so beside myself with not knowing what the fuck I'm doing. But I was okay at the time. I was pretty good. And like, but like guitar playing, I wasn't where I wanted to be. And so I was trying to over impress, and that didn't do much. But then we fuck around in the hotel one day, and we fuck around with, like, we're just trying to whatever, just see if anything works. She starts singing, we write Nobody's Home. It's just great experience. I go and I actually play guitar on that and another song. So I get to record with Don Gilmore, which was this fun experience that, like, I wanted to have as a fan. But Avril and I hit it off, and I'm like, you know, we're just two young people talking and hanging out. And I realized, like, that was my first taste of realizing, like, the kind of shit that people go through as a solo artist, one, but especially as a woman in this industry, especially if you're a young woman. It's like Amy got to have, look, Amy broke some boundaries, and Amy didn't fucking pull punches. Like, she fought back. People said, "Show me your tits." She fucking called them out, tell them to go fuck themselves, threw something at them. Like, she was not shy, and that was great. But other singers didn't have the luxury of having a band full of dudes that were, honestly, between me and John and Rocky, we're roughnecks who we were not the most polished. We would throw down. Is all I'm saying. Like, we were very just, like, from that era of, like, you fuck with us, you fuck with everybody. Like, we would fuck with shit, and, like, we would be really aggressive sometimes. And I mean, like, I think at one point, Kevin, and you remember Kevin and Bean? I don't know if they're still a thing, but they were like the biggest morning DJs in K Rock, whatever. Like, they said some shit, and so Rocky and I, like, challenged them to a charity boxing match. It was so stupid. We were so testosterone, whatever. But I started to see, like, all this shit with Avril, and then it repeated with Kelly. Like, these shit where they were actually coming into their own. Like, I worked with both of them between their first and second records when they were first getting the feel of, like, establishing their own autonomy and their own sovereignty. And that was really cool to see. And that was fun to, like, to be able to go, like, dude, you, like, just support them in that, and be a part of that. And, like, that was fun. I had a great time. I learned a lot about recording with other people. And then, of course, I got to spend more time in energy and get to know Jay, things like that. So when Kelly came around, I was a different person. Like, I remember being in a movie theater. I don't remember what movie it was, but, like, I listened to my voicemail, and there was some, like, I had a phone call with somebody about, like, yeah, just tell whoever to call me. Like, I'm a songwriter now. Sure, let's do this. Like, everyone was so excited about the fact I was, like, writing songs that I was, like, being treated like I was still in a band, which was nice by labels and publishers. So I get a phone call and I don't answer it. It's an unknown number. Still bad about that. I get a voicemail. It's like, "Hi, this is Kelly Clarkson." And, like, I remember, like, bringing her up during the year because we were up for some same awards. I fucked up her name. I feel like a dick about it. I call her Kelly Clarkson at the, like, on the VMA diaries. I never took any of that shit seriously. I was such a douche. Everyone hated me. But, like, on the VMA diaries where they were like, we were the black, what are they called, the black horse or something, like the black sheep or some, whatever, the dark horse. Like, we were the sort of, like, unexpected, because we're against 50 Cent and Kelly Clarkson. Like, I had never seen American Idol. It was a fucking talent show on TV, is what it was explained to me. I was like, great. Whatever. So, like, I talked all this shit and I did all this really, really, like, dumb stuff that was meant to be a joke. Nobody got it. She didn't take offense. Fortunately, she called me. She's like, "I'm a big fan of your work. I'd love to write together," whatever. I called her back. She was just a sweet, great person. I knew nothing of her. Then she sends me a tape. I, like, a literal cassette tape, which I have to this day. Handwritten, it says Kelly Songs for Ben. And she's just singing ideas, man. And I'm like, this bitch is amazing. Like this, because she could sing. We all know she could sing, but like she had shit to talk about. And I was like, so I talked to her about, called her. I was like, okay, well, one, I'll do anything you want me to do on this, but here's the two things. I want this song. I want to produce it. I didn't realize at the time that I wasn't really in a position to make the demand, but I just assumed I was. So I just did, and I got it. And so we finished the song. Like I brought Dave in because I called David. I was like, listen, she sent me like 6 songs. Like I did 3 of them in the last hour. You do these other 3. We'll call it a day. Because like I was bringing him in on it. I was like, I didn't know what I'm doing, but they were so good. I just fucking went with it, and I got them done super fast. And unfortunately, none of those second 3 made it on the album, so I just gave up my publishing on on all these other ones just to be a good dude. But we produced, yeah. We when Kelly and I got together to work on those songs, like it was Kelly and David and I, and it was just magic. It was just magic, man. Like it just went so easy, and I had no idea that that's all it was. You know, it was just like connecting with people, making music, following your vision, not giving the label a fucking inch until they threaten to shut you down. And that's like sort of become my thing, was like, until they threaten total abandonment, like I'm gonna push back and go for what the artist wants. And dude, I had no idea. I had no idea what that song was gonna bring. Because of You, it was one of the most important moments of my life as a producer, because when I came into the song that day, I don't want to go into details about what happened the day before, but like it didn't. What happened the day before was not a success, and the engineer, who at the time was my second time working with him, is named Dan Serta, who was Jay Baumgartner's engineer, who I eventually stole, and he became like my right hand man for all of my career, just about. I was like, how'd it go? And he goes, just listen. I listened. I was like, yeah, that ain't it. And he goes, yeah. And I go, thanks for telling me. Called her back in. We have a discussion about her mom, who the song is about what drew me to it in the first place, what I related to. She had a rough conversation with her mother on the way to studio that day. She channeled that. She fucking showed up like a pro. I think she like stopped and had some tears like once, where she just needed to I was making space, but I was trying to make it as like, it's like, I was doing everything I knew to do, but at the time I'm very new. But I wanted to like give people what she gave me in these conversations, and we were able to accomplish that. She nailed it, and it became this thing. And then she went and re-recorded it again, and it went #1 in the country markets, and it was like this gift that keeps on giving. And it was crazy, man. Like I wasn't even like staying on top of it, because things went really weird for me after that. And like I remember having a meeting with somebody from my label, and they're like, yeah, Because of You is the first song to return to #1 after leaving since Destiny's Child. And I was like, that's amazing, cool. Like I had no idea it was going on, but like Kelly was eye-opening. Kelly, I didn't realize how much depth and how real pop singers could be. Like I always just wrote them off. I was like everybody else. But dude, she opened my eyes and changed that. Like that song is real. That song touched people because it was real, and she didn't fake a fucking inch of it. I didn't write one word of that song. It's all her. I just wrote the music, you know. So yeah, it was a good year. And things happened, it didn't happen with Resident Evil over that year. Like I got really like, dude, I went back home, and I fell asleep watching a movie, and I woke up, and I had this song in my head. I swear it was in this movie. I was like, this is the greatest. Like I love this song. I had to go find the song. I wanted to find it and look it up, and because I just assumed it was while I was watching the movie. I knew the lyrics. I knew how the chorus went. It was crazy. And it wasn't in the movie, and I realized I'd written it. And I went upstairs and I sang this idea of everything burns, and Avril. I came back to LA. I was in Little Rock when I did. I came back to LA, and I threw Avril a birthday party at Zach Ward's house, who I met on the.
So you do have experience throwing birthday parties. We can work
with
this.
I do. I threw a birthday party, and because Zach was on Titus, the show Titus, who it's funny, I'm studio neighbors with Christopher Titus now, but like I met Titus through him, and I met him on the set of Resident Evil. We stayed in touch. I, Everyone does the Hollywood two-step. Okay, everyone gives you like they'll exchange numbers or whatever, but like it's rare that you like someone like does what they say they're going to do. And like I was living at the hotel. I called him down for one of my infamous nights at the Bellage, which like have led to. I mean, I can't even. We don't have 2 hours isn't enough to go into all the fucking like people I met through that connection or the things that happened because of the hotel and the things that took place in that hotel. I met everybody. And like the maitre d is now famous. There's a Netflix documentary coming out about the maitre d that like bought early stock in Tesla, so now he does it for love of the fucking game. He's at the Sunset Tower. I was spent Valentine's with him this year. Like he's like a god in Hollywood circles, and like he and I just became like I just love that dude. He took a liking to me. He introduced me to so many people, but Avril came and I showed her the song. I was like, I got this fucking thing, this idea. I'm like, I don't know. And she was like, I want to fucking sing on this. I want to introduce you. And that's how it became a duet. It wasn't supposed to be a duet, but she came and sang on it. And then she sang the first verse. She was like, it'll be like I'm introducing you. And I was like, fucking A. How cool is that? She was on top of the world. By the time it all came around, like it was supposed to be like I pitched it for the theme of like the main song of Resident Evil. They came to the studio. Like I put together like the soundtrack. I put together like I got together with Body Count. I was going to do this like Judgment Night. I don't know if you remember that movie. I based everything on Judgment Night. It was this amazing rap meets metal, early 90s, like before rap rock was a thing. It was this great collaboration of like mashing up genres. I was like, we should do that. I got all these people on board, and then I negotiated a deal for them to like come to Wind Up and do the whatever. And I don't know where it fell apart, but somewhere along the way, none of it happened. Single gets sort of left there and it's in no man's land. And then by the time it came about, like her label wasn't interested in giving her permission to be on my single. And then it became the thing that it was, and, but yeah, like without that Avril session, I would not have ever put out a solo record. I just did that because she believed in it. And then told me years later, Kelly sang on it too. Kelly told me years later that because she and I were supposed to do a duet, like I wrote a song called Sleep Well, My Angel that she and I were supposed to do as a duet. And then that was when she told me, like, I always wanted to sing on that song, but I didn't want to tell you that. I was like, I wish you had told me that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and nothing, look, Anastasia did a fantastic job and she gave so much of her time and energy and she was fantastic. It was just one of those things where like, there was just all of these opportunities and things that came along that sort of went by the wayside because of delays and whatever else. But 2004 really kept me from disappearing into oblivion, thanks to Kelly and Avril. And then I sort of became a little too entrenched with American Idol people, but that played out how it played out, Some of them turned out.
We'll get into Bo Bice and Daughtry in a second here. But so we described your 2004. Then 2005 is when you release Everything Burns, the song you're talking about. This is featuring Anastasia. I remember this song coming out and being like, oh, wow, that's the Evanescence guy. Like, to me, that was... As fans, we don't usually hear about the songwriter and the producer. So we don't know that you've done the Avril song, the Kelly Clarkson song. So for us, you leave Evanescence in 2003 and then 2005, we go, oh, that's what he's been up to. And there's his big single as a solo artist. So I remember distinctly hearing Everything Burns when it came out as a single. So this comes out, it's a top 10 hit in 6 countries. It goes gold, platinum, and multi-platinum in 16 countries from Anastasia's Greatest Hits album when she puts that out. And I was going to ask, I hear it's originally recorded with Avril. So you've shared that story. And we have a fan question. This is from Strecker Elodie, who says, one of my all-time favorite songs is Everything Burns with Anastasia. How did such powerful lyrics come to you? Please mention that the question is coming from France.
Completely not related, but it's funny. I've spent a couple of birthdays in France, actually. First time was not even intentional. It was coming out from that Romania video shoot. Our flight gets canceled. I ended up in Romania. I was in Paris for my for my was it 22nd birthday or something crazy like that. Yeah, I love France. Um, it's
So how
weird
did the
that song,
lyrics come to you is
sound
the
is
question.
like my anthem, like to this day. My song is, it's like it was the first time, obviously, that I sang in my own voice, but like that because Amy had sung both her words and my words up to that point, but it was weird. It was different. It was like that song. It was the first time I was honest about how I felt about. I grew up with a lot of I don't know, just this thing where like I look, I have dealt with this even to this day of like self-sabotage and just sort of like loving too much and getting hurt because of that, and that leading to sort of this overwhelming anger and this hatred and this sort of like just rage at the injustice of everything. And that's what that song was about, was just that this was my anthem. Like I if I it came from, if I'm being honest, it came from a line from Shakespeare. It's so cheesy, but it came from Shakespeare. Having failed to prove a lover, I shall instead prove a villain and forsake the idle pleasures of these days. It's like I didn't want this. I didn't want to be a villain. I didn't want to be like, I didn't want to be any of this. I didn't want to be angry all the time. I didn't want to be hurt. I didn't want to be this. But if this is if this is your choice, like as much as I can create, I can destroy. And if that's what you want, world, of course I'm dealing with this. You're gotta understand. I was 23. You know, I'm I am putting everything that I feel and understand about the world in the context of experiences of a 23-year-old. Now, granted, 23-year-old who's had some pretty extraordinary experiences at that point, but still, like that song to this day is one of the most important to me ever because, and it's probably evidenced by how many times I've re-recorded it in so many different versions. There's so many fucking versions of this song. It's kind of insane, but that song was sort of like the first I realized that was it's gonna get dark. Do you mind? Like it's gonna get, if you want the honest answer, like
It's funny.
I
Every day I post a song of the day, and yesterday it was Leonard Cohen, "You Want It Darker," which would be the theme
oh
song
wow.
to this moment. So baby, I love it dark. Let's
Okay.
go.
Look, I have dealt with, and it's been a struggle in my life and something that I participate in the recovery of others pretty pretty adamantly, pretty actively, is when I was very young, a friend of mine committed suicide. And in that moment, it was a weird thing for me because all at once, for the first time in my life, became aware that I was not alone in feeling a certain way, and then became alone again in feeling that way because there was this person that I had in my life that I did not know understood these extreme feelings and yeah, I mean, just extreme feelings about just these horrible things, that these secrets I kept hidden. I realized that someone else had them, and then they were gone, and that sort of put a weird, that just sort of weirdly focused certain areas of my life. And since then, I the first time was with Everything Burns, when I sort of had a rule, which was that like if I have this desire or these ideations reach a certain point, I would give myself, it was sort of like my own, whatever you want to call it, a rule or promise, or whatever. I would not take action until I fully, honestly expressed myself in a song. Whether I released it or not was not. It was that you have to fucking make your life mount something. So I would not allow myself to take action until I've completed a song that was honest to where I was at in this moment. Because the whole sort of bribe there was that there would be no consequence to being honest because you would be gone. And once you do this, I give myself the permission to take action on these thoughts of self-harm. And I struggled with a lot of different types of self-harm up at that point. I mean, like I used to take I mean, there's a lot of sort of awareness in the zeitgeist or whatever now about harming, like cutting, things like that. There's a lot more now. There wasn't any of that. There was no internet. I mean, for fuck's sake, there was no finding out that other people did this or that was a thing that was like normal for people who experienced certain out of the ordinary childhood experiences, and so bring me excuse me Everything Burns was like, it was powerful. It was empowering to me because by the time I fully like wrote the truth about in that song, that like it was weird. It was like life-saving because I no longer needed to. And so I've done that repeatedly, actually, that throughout my career. Some of the songs people know, some of them they don't, but like, Everything Burns was a way for me to purge really dark shit, which makes it painful that it became what it did in my mind. Like, even to the point of like, I didn't even look, there's nothing against what I forget his name, who did it. He released it on Wind Up. I think it was an Idolist runner-up. By that point, I literally had no rights to it. Like, it hurts that it became what it became, but like, it was always been important to me. And it meant the world to me that so many people sang on it, because for that year, everyone who came through NRG, who like I was friends with, or just I worked with, or I didn't, whatever, like popped in. I've got a gang vocal that has everybody you can imagine during that time on it that's never come out. You know what I mean?
Over the next few years, you work with Lindsay Lohan, Daughtry, Celine Dion, Halestorm, Flyleaf, just to name a few. I got to talk about the Daughtry album and song. So Daughtry, What About Now? That's on the debut album. So I just did an interview with Brian Craddock, the guitarist for Daughtry. And so I had to dive into Daughtry's whole career, his discography. So that song, What About Now? It's a top 5 hit in Canada and the US. The accolades for that album are absolute bananas. So the album itself sells 7 million copies. It's the fastest selling debut rock album in SoundScan history, period. Number one, period, in SoundScan history.
Crazy.
The other accolades I remember, it stayed in the top 10 for an entire year. The album doesn't leave the top 10. So 52 weeks, a bunch of new albums every week, and they cannot displace it from the top 10. It stayed in the top 40 for 3 years. No other debut album has done that. I remember that album coming out. I love the album. There was 5 hit singles. Every single song on that album could have been a hit single as well. If the label kept putting out more than 5, there was a lot more hits on there. So I have nothing but good things to say about that debut Daughtry album. Is there anything you would like to share about the song What About Now? That sounds like a hit when you hear that song.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Okay. Oh man. Okay. I got my first introduction to Daughtry. Okay. I am working on Hana Pestle, which was an artist that I ended up producing. I'm at the house and I get a call. I can't remember who it was that left the message, like, you need to call like the studio, whatever. I think it was probably Mitch Allen. Because back then, look, here's the thing. I look, to this day, I'm embarrassingly out of touch with like whatever's happening right at this moment. Whatever everybody's talking about right now, you're gonna catch me talking about a year from now. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, cool. It came around, like it got to me finally. Daughtry was one of, I've never watched an episode of Idol. I tried once, but it's like I have this weird thing when people try or when people mean it, or like I can't watch it. I get this weird ick that like my soul crumbles, my knees go out. I fucking want to. I put myself in a bear hug and I leave the room. So I get a call and they're like, you need to call this person or whatever, and I'm like, okay, and I just do what I'm told. Like, I call, and it's Chris Daughtry. I don't know who the fuck he is. But he starts asking me all these intense questions right off the bat about the song. I'm like, who are you? Like, what? What are you talking about? But because the song originally was like David Hodges and I Meatloaf was coming back around. It was like we ended up getting sat with him at a at a thing because it's Amy and David and I all sat together. And the last minute, Clive Davis's people come in. They're like, "You cannot sit Amy with them." So like, someone comes up to me as soon as I get to this Grammy party, and like, it's like the night before the Grammys. It's the big thing. It's bigger than the Grammys every year. It's like harder to get into. It took me years to even get like a +1, which by the way will lead into Halestorm in a minute. But like, I'm like I'm like my first year in getting a +1. So it's me and Hannah, the artist I'm working with, and David and Kate, and then Meatloaf and his wife. And they've got they last minute, someone comes up to me, he's like, we did it. Like, don't worry. I'm like, worried about what the fuck you're talking about? They're like, there's a big scramble. But we rearranged everybody. So you both have equal seating now. And I was like, dude, do you understand that? Like, I give a fuck about none of this. Like, it is so bizarre at that moment that anyone from Clive Davis's office even knows my name, let alone is scrambling to make a last minute adjustment to his party so that my feelings and Amy Lee's feelings are fucking like, no one's ruffled our feathers. It's like, dude, you've got to be shitting me. This is so weird.
Just happy to be in the building, sir.
Dude, like, +1 this year. That's fucking dope. Like, I'm like big time now, right? Like, that's my mindset. And then I realized like why they set us all together is because they set us with Meatloaf, because it's like this known thing about like Meatloaf being how Amy and I found each other and all that shit. So Han and I just spent the whole evening shooting the shit with Meatloaf and his wife, talking about HGTV and like shit we're doing around the house and whatever, like just dumb shit. So anyway, we get like we talked to Meatloaf about fucking working together. And so Dave and I go and we do this song thinking we're pitching it for him. I have no idea what the outcome of that is because I don't pay attention and I move on and I slipped. I wake up, it's a new day. It's like a whole new whatever. Let's move on. So finally he tells me like what's going on. He's with Howard Benson, and I'm like, oh, now I remember, it's Mark Rank. Mark Rank, the vocal coach, the one who he worked with Howard Benson on that. Mark Rank was my vocal coach. He's the one who made the connection. So that's why I just remember that. So yeah, I just like, cool, man. These are David Hodges questions. Like, I was not rude, I don't think, but I was like, I don't know. And I'm like, I don't care. And like, I genuinely was just like, I was so into what I was doing. And I was like, trying to like be businessman Ben and like, whatever. The album comes out. So I realize who he is. Like, he and I see each other at a dozen different things. And we're like, I think we're friends. Like, honestly, like I've had some of the most genuinely fun times in the studio with him. And so we ended up like becoming friends after that. But like that song, I had nothing to do with like him recording it. You know, it was just I was a part of writing it. Then of course we worked together and wrote together for his second album.
By his second album, did you know who he was?
Oh, 100%. In fact, like it's funny. It would become this running thing where like anybody who's with us at the same time is like, will both I'll give him shit about something, or they'll give me shit for not knowing who he was. And of course, by that time, you got to understand, more famous than me to this day. I mean, like, put Chris, he's Chris Daughtry. He's the lead, not only the lead singer of Daughtry, but like, he was on fucking American Idol. Like, put me and him, any lineup, anywhere in the world, people will automatically go, I know that guy. And so, like, he's more famous than me. So I will always be punching up when taking the shit, taking a piss out of him. But like, one of the funniest things, no one finds this funny when I tell the story, but like, we were driving through an In-N-Out and we're just being dumb and douchey and just joking. And like, I was going to finally do the Ben Moody solo record. David Hodges was in the car and he was like asking me why I didn't just call the band Moody. And I was like, the first thing out of my mouth before I even thought about it was, I don't have enough space on my back for the tattoo. Because Daughtry has this like, and it was just funny. And I was just taking it was like, and then he like, we're at the drive-thru and then he orders a chocolate shake as chocolate shake. Because we were talking about Nick and Jessica. It was like the dumbest thing, but I lost my mind in the moment. It was the funniest thing I couldn't even order. And I doubled over with laughter. And like, so for that moment, that and some joke I made when I wanted another take out of him about something about reading my diary, it really hit hard and I like had a good reaction out of the room. Other than that, those two things were like the funniest times I've ever had with a fucking big time pop star. So Like I will always love Daughtry for that. And I saw him bass player. By the way, his bass player, Marty O'Brien, was my bass player through like all of history. And yeah, that's how that got hooked up. So I'm proud of that. And I just over last summer I went and saw them in Vegas and got to catch up. Who else are we talking about? Sorry, what was the question? I got distracted by Daughtry. His beauty will do that. He's just a beautiful man.
Yeah, yeah, no, I was just asking about the Daughtry song in that debut album. It's crazy, man. Daughtry has sold 25 million
The
singles, which is
motherfucker's
insane. Like he sold 10
unstoppable.
million albums, which is also insane. But 25 million singles, like it's not just albums, it's the individual songs that people are just
Yeah.
obsessed with
And
as
what about
well.
now was the fifth single on that record? It was almost like, dude, are you? But you were right. You could pick any song because of that's where we were in the industry then, which is also that exact thing that led to Daughtry's album being so good was why I stepped back from so many things was because like that was the anomaly. That was like the best case scenario. When I went and said like after American Idol's first season, I went to Clive Davis, I went to several people, and I was like, Cara Diagardi, Mitch Allen, Dave Hodges, fucking Mitch Allen, all these people. Like I fucking was like, dude, Motown's coming back. Motown used to have this machine, and the artists came in, they sang the songs, they would get, and it was like, it's coming back. This is our time. That was the moment the fucking like songwriter. I used to be in a band, so I got the tricks I'm a professional songwriter now. The market flooded. It became this obscene thing that like I just got so exhausted by it. But like the beginning of that was that moment. It was literally that. It was Mitch Allen, fucking all these people involved with like the Daughtry thing. I was like, see, this is gonna be us. And they all did it. I backed away, but like all of them maintained it, like have made a great career of it. I wasn't wrong. I completely underestimated how much I would dislike it.
You also
Uh,
had the genius of Howard Benson there as the
Dude,
glue,
Howard Benson is
bringing
like,
everything all together and making sure it sounded great and that he got the best take out of everyone.
and I want to say I haven't given him his due over the years with like I used to judge really hardcore like the sort of people that had like a thing down, like a system, because I was so into like getting into the fucking artist's head at 3 a.m. and like ripping open their psyche and getting into their trauma and like finding that shit. Like I was like, I completely discredited this whole like sort of machine factory thing. But like, dude, he's a god at that. And I wish I had learned more from my encounters with him than I had at the time, you know?
I just went like 6 interviews in a row where Howard Benson came up every time. So I had
Yeah,
Sonny from POD, and he did
yeah,
most of the POD albums. Then I had Dryden from Alien Ant Farm. He's doing the new Alien Ant Farm stuff.
yeah,
I had your fellow bandmate Lucas Rossi. So
yeah.
he did stuff with that with 3 Days Grace as well. And then there's someone else I just did. Yeah. So Howard, literally across the last 2 months, it's Howard Benson is in the discography of whoever I talked to.
Dude, really quick, can I just the first two you mentioned, can I just say two quick asides that I love that I don't the Alien Ant Farm guys, like I don't know except I have one experience with that band. Everything Burns, when it was still in Sympathy, I played in the parking lot of NRG in my fucking brand new, like fully restored DeLorean with the singer of Alien Ant Farm. I was playing him that song. And it was like, hey man, check this out. That's what I'm doing right now. And like I was more proud of my DeLorean than the song. But like, and also POD, a lot of people don't know this. When I left Evanescence, when I was hiding for a bit, like during Avril and all that, like I was always with POD. People like were like, "Where the fuck is Ben?" Because I was supposed to be on tour, or whatever. I was always with POD. I used to load their fucking van when I was 13. I loaded their van when they would open for fucking Living Sacrifice. I mean, dude, open for Living Sacrifice, a Christian death metal band. They would open for. I do, yeah, like those fun. The first two you mentioned, like I have really, really clear memories in my mind of like going to Jimmy Kimmel while POD was playing and hanging out backstage with Avril and pretending like we weren't there, you know?
So Celine Dion, I have to mention because she's Canada's greatest export. And
Yeah.
that album goes 4 times platinum in Canada and was the single best-selling album of the year period in Canada. That's how much we love our Celine Dion. You worked on
And
3 different songs for that Taking Chances album, sells over 3 million copies as an album globally. Is there anything you can say about the greatest singer in the world?
Is the world.
In the
Yeah, I'll tell you
world.
this. A couple things actually. One, she is funnier than any of your listeners have a clue about. She is fucking hilarious. Also, our parents' generation claimed her. She's ours. She's 1 year older than Gwen Stefani. Like she sort of like got delegated into this. Like no, I mean, first CD I ever had because I didn't. I used to beg my parents for a CD player for years because that was the big hot thing. Like my sister got one before I did. And like the first CD she had was a Celine Dion CD. It was the one that with My Heart Will Go. It's the fucking one that sold 1 million copies a week or whatever. Um, so that's one. She is a just like as far as human beings go. I mean, class oozing from every pore, while at the same time can be raunchy as fuck. And I should probably deny this if you ever like. There's clips of us of like fucking around the studio and being goofy. Like I could not fucking be serious about anything back then. And I had her like she was like on the floor laughing, like we're just doing all this stuff that everyone's just used to like being so reverent around her. But I remember the first time I realized that like she was cooler than that was I did that work with David Hodges, his wife Catherine, pregnant at the time. She saw his wife comes to the studio. She saw his pregnant wife, beelines, and just like the world doesn't exist. She's just like talking to her about motherhood and like just being a fucking great human being, right? Um, I go back to Vegas when and like we work on our stuff some more, and like she's just like it's comfortable and she jokes. I mean, dude, the shit she said and the way you were able to like joke with her is just not what anyone would expect. There was zero reverence. There was all this like professionalism, of course. Everyone involved with that operated at the top of their ability, including David and I. Despite the fact I was wearing shorts once, it was terrible. But grown men shouldn't wear shorts. Not to work. Not to work. That's the way I feel. Grown men shouldn't wear shorts, not to work. That's I'm gonna stick by that. But like my mother, the year after, like during that year, my mother turned 50. So I call because like everyone's mother of our age, like if you're not a huge Celine Dion fan, you don't exist. But like I call her and I'm like, I'd like to come to Vegas, and I want her to see the show. Well, Renee, there's a moment that occurred in the studio that like if I tell it, it's I don't know why he had such a reaction to it, but apparently it was a great moment. And like it didn't seem like the most intelligent or like brilliant producer thing I've ever done, but like it solved the crisis of the moment. And like Renee like made a huge deal about it. And it embarrassed me because it was so flattering or whatever. But like, it was like he was like, there are 3 moments I've witnessed in her career that are magic. That like one of them was this, the second one was this, and the third one was what you just did. And I was just like, I'll take it. But like I was so just like, oh God, like that was just too much. It made me feel so good, but so weird at the same time. So anyway, I call him about my mom's birthday, and because Renee had given me his number, he's like, you ever fucking need anything, you call me. So I called, and he gave because he has seats at every show that are just like the best seats in the house, right in front of my house. It was like, but he gave them to me and my mom, and then afterwards, I took her backstage to an eat and greet. She had it set up to where she did everybody before us. Then she turned her back to the room, fucking dropped the guard, and just was talking. She spent the rest of the evening with me and my mom, just like talking normal. She was like, "Oh my God, did you hear anything? Like, I had this thing with my ear all day. It's like been bugging me." And like, she met my mom. She was so fucking beyond gracious. My mother couldn't barely even speak with how like taken aback by the whole thing she was. And it was dude, it was one of the greatest things anybody could give their parent. Like what greater symbol of like you've done well, your kid made it, than like this thing, person this huge thing is like your son is their peer. It was amazing. So Celine Dion was one of the greatest experiences ever, and will always remain that.
She has a get out of jail free card for life from the mom
Oh,
experience.
dude, I will help her bury a body today. Like I will end this interview right now. If she
You just call me,
like,
Celine. I got you.
Dude, I am great at like, put me on a polygraph. I will lie under oath for you. You are a national treasure to both our countries. I'm sorry. She is. She is. She deserves everything that she has gotten. That's all I'm gonna say. Also, the only fucking session I've ever been to where they took a joke I made and like I literally came back to only my favorite colors of Starburst being available in a bowl. It was insane. It was a kind of like it was a level of detail I've never experienced before.
That's
Since
like Van Halen with the green M&Ms.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was like that, but like it really happened. Wasn't a douchey thing. It was just a joke, but they were like, that's what we do. And I'm like, this is amazing.
In 1997, when Titanic came out, within a 1 year period between the Titanic soundtrack and her solo album that also had My Heart Will Go On, those two albums in a 1 year period, Celine sold 60 million albums. So you think
What the
about,
fuck?
okay, you
I
think
haven't
about
sold 60 million total.
Evanescence has sold about 32 million albums, which are sales numbers that almost no one else will experience. Like they're absurd numbers. She's sold 60 million in 1 year just to show this is why Canadians, this is why we're so proud, you know?
Well, here's the thing: her talent deserves that, but also let's just take that in and what is required to accomplish that. The multi-generational connection you have to have with the record buying population, pop culture, the zeitgeist. You are ubiquitous with the music industry, with success, with popular music. That dude, we were huge. That is 3 times us in 1 year. It's insane. Also, I just want to point out that um, this is a funny little connection that no one knows about, but Evanescence exists because I had an opening, because I was in a band before that, and I had another female lead singer before that. And I'm gonna fuck up here because I don't remember if her maiden or married name was Lori Russo or Lori Sykes. It's one of the she was both at one point. I don't remember which one was maiden, which one was married, but I was in a band with another singer named Lori, and that band got put on hold because I was little in terms of like other 14-year-olds in the city. I was pretty good. I'm not that great now, but in Little Rock, Arkansas at 14, I held my shit down and I was ready to go. I knew everything there was to know about everything anybody knew about anything technical with equipment or musical. And so I was in bands. I was hanging out with people older than me. My band got put on hold because my lead singer became a stunt double for Kate Winslet in a little movie called Titanic. And she moved away. And then the other person in the band she got, who was also like, you could see him in the theater. I pointed him out. He's like a fucking recurring extra. So my whole band became extras and stunt doubles on Titanic. It was gone for so long. I went to summer camp, bored out of my fucking mind, and met Amy Lee. But like, it's weird how everything comes full circle. But like, I recently got back in touch about a year and a half ago, actually, with Lori. And I had pictures with her on the fucking boat and everything. Like, yeah, Titanic, it turns out, played a role in my career like more than once.
Basically, all of our lives, there's before Titanic and after Titanic.
Right? Right, dude. That was like, especially James Cameron. Jesus Christ, that sort of was the beginning of the absolutely absurd summer blockbuster.
Let's dive into Halestorm, and then we can move on to some of the other bands that you formed afterwards. So, Halestorm, you worked on the song Innocence from their debut self-titled album. I bought that album. I love that album. Just like the Daughtry album, I think the whole album could have been singles. There's so many great songs on that album. It goes gold in the US. I saw Halestorm perform live in Toronto in a festival that had Stone Sour with Corey Taylor. It had Disturbed, Avenged Sevenfold, and man, Lizzie Hale, that girl can sing.
I'm gonna tell you something about Hailstorm. I just finished Hana Pestil's, like the artist I was working with. And I started to do writing sessions again because that's throughout my career, it's been a recurring theme. Like after leaving Evanescence, very little interest in from the powers that be. It seems to be shown to anything I do outside of songwriting for other people, which has been a gift and the bane of my existence. On the rare occasions where it's like, where I'm so glad I did it. Chief among them is Lizzie Hale. She shows up. I usually do, like, if I'm being honest, at that point in my life, because I was I had a lot going on. I was very much was young, I was flighty. um, I didn't. I said yes to shit because management wanted to, and I did about 20 minutes of homework before they got there. I'm not great. I was not. It was not my priority, and I throw in this fucking like CD or whatever of their like. It's not even a great representation of them. It's like live. 3 songs or something from years ago. I'm like, great. So I look, whatever. She shows up. She's like kind of screaming in the CD where she shows up and she could sing. But yeah, we do a decent song together. But it's like there's something about her. I'm just kind of like, yeah, man. Like I asked her to come back the next day. Let's do another song. So we write another song. Me, her, and Michael Fish Herring. He just goes by Fish. Christina Aguilera, New Kids on the Block, like Prince. They're a guitar player. He's like virtuoso guy I'd become like aware of. In
Wait,
he's
didn't
one of
he
the
play guitar when after Tupac passes away, they put out a bunch of Tupac albums, and I feel like he played guitar on
yeah
what was almost like an acoustic
yeah
album with Tupac lyrics. I think that was him, the
that
guitarist.
was him. He I met him through Jason Miller, who was in Godhead, who is now Jason Charles Miller. He does this sort of like outlaw country western thing. He's amazing. He also owns the building which houses studios that I have at one point or another had a lease at every room in his place for at least a year. Like I am there to this day. And like anyway, he introduced me to Michael, or we call him Fish. And yeah, he is, dude, the amount of shit, the legendary shit he's been on. I was saying he played on shit ton of my solo stuff. We just hit it off. We just became like brothers. Like we just instantly were just bonded. And he's the one who brought me Hana. He and I produced and wrote that together. We worked on all kinds of shit. Yeah, he's legendary. He and I wrote the first day with her, and then we did the second song on the second day. And she comes in to sing it. And I'm like, God, like at that point, like I get this thing in me that's like this itch, right? Where there's just I see something that isn't there yet or revealed yet. I saw it in Kelly when she sang me that last song. It's like this whole depth of her that had not been seen yet, and I needed to be a part of it. Like I need this to get to the world. I need this to fucking exist. Like I'm inspired by this. I need this in the world. Lizzie Hale was that. And then she like insisted she made this big deal. Like, when it's like, when something's important to you, like when someone's important to you or whatever, it's like the things that are important to them become important. Like it just she had this thing about her band that like I'd never experienced. Amy and I were not in a band with a bunch of people most of our time together. A band meant different things, different people. I never had that connection, like other than Amy or David, and until later in life. So they were doing this show at the Whiskey, and I went to see them play. And I want to tell you something, dude. Like, as it's happening, I am literally aware of in that moment that I'm experiencing something that people are going to years from now talk about with the kind of reverence I feel in this moment. It's going to be, if Behind the Music still existed, it would be this moment that everyone talked about. Because I'm waiting, I'm in the floor, right? I go down out of the fucking VIP section because like I'm a real motherfucker, With the band, if I fucking, that's how you know how much I really feel like your band. It's like if I'm on the floor when you're playing, because like I am a creature of comfort. So I go down and I'm like, I want to be like in it. And there's no one on stage, and I hear this voice, and she's in the back of the fucking room with a wireless mic. And she starts this intro, which has become kind of famous now, like I'm in love with somebody. But she does this like, there's clips of it online. She like walks past me and like looks me in the eye. She's walking the stage, as she does with multiple people around the fucking room. And in that moment, I'm like, I don't know if I'm in love. I don't know if if I've just seen greatness. I don't know if I should like get on my knees. Like I am changed by this performance because I respect what we do so much, and like the people that are the people that fucking walk out on stage, and this is where they become like who they are. Just like the only place you feel this is where you belong. Like I respect that so much, and like so many of us have like imposter syndrome around that. But with her, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, bitch, you were fucking born this way. Like, oh my God. Plus, it takes a lot to humble me at that point. Like you said, I'm having a good year. 2004 was a good year. Like, I got all the reasons to have like a lot of confidence in my own fucking dopeness, but it's all gone at that moment. I'm just like, it's like the cartoons with the tongues on the floor. I can't even fucking believe what I'm seeing. And so we meet up afterwards at the all of this, the whole band. I meet the whole band after that at like the Rainbow or something. I think it was the Rainbow or one of those fucking places, right? Um, and I'm like, I'm obsessed, but I can't even articulate it. I'm just like, I call management. I'm like, I gotta fucking clear my head. I just finished this 1.5 year long thing with Hana, and like, all I wanted to do was one-offs. Like I just wanted to make people remember I still exist and not get too involved. But like, I can think about nothing else. So I call Marty, Daughtry's bass player. Like, Marty's my tropical island buddy. Whenever I need to fuck off or I need to like go hike something or go like experience some outdoorsy thing, I have nobody in my life who's into that. Marty's always down. So I call Marty. I'm like, we're going to Hawaii. He was like, okay. And so we go to Hawaii. And the whole time I'm there, I'm literally just like listening to Hana, listening to Halestorm, these three. All I have is these 3 songs and the 2 songs we did together. I have nothing else. And I'm just like, this 3-song live EP, and I'm just like trying to talk some sense into myself about like just moving on with my life. I can think about nothing else. So I take the band out to dinner when I get back, and I'm like, I want to fucking take you to prom. Like, I want to produce, I want to write, I want to do whatever. Like, your label is in sort of like this send you to everybody. Like, she was doing rounds for like a year at that point. All these songwriters, of course, every song on the album sounds like a single. Every fucking song came from a collab with her and a professional songwriter. But I'm like, can tell that the band isn't really loving that. And like, she's going, they're not going. You know what I mean? But I start to see the importance of the band to her and how much once I saw them live, I got it. Like, you have to see them as a whole to get it. Or else, of course, you're going to do what everybody does, which is just assume the lead singer is the whole thing and everybody else is whatever. I wanted to protect that. I wanted to be a part of that. I didn't just co-write that song, dude. I fought to be a part of that record, and I worked with them 8 to 12 hours a day, 5-6 days a week in my studio that entire summer. Like, I worked with them and went to the label and fought with the label and be like, this is why you're wrong. Which, by the way I handled all of that was so insane. But like, I went to the president of Atlantic Records. And I was like, no, listen, this is where I fucking am in the middle. I'm one of the people you send them to. I know exactly what you're doing, but this is what you're overlooking. And like, I put together this idea of the demos of like, I worked with them on songs that they wrote and included shit they wrote with other people. And I go up to the label and I'm like, and they're like, that fucking, and literally like the manager at that time said, Lizzie should never put pen to paper. They should show up and whatever. And I was like, are you fucking insane? Like, hearing management, label, and all this stuff. And I had my manager get on one where I was like, because I got basically like, I got reprimanded by my management for how I handled Halestorm because I went to the label and defended the band. And like, and then I was like, oh no, motherfucker. One, I'm sorry I made your job harder, but fuck you. If this is made a hard day for you, fucking strap in, because like, I'm not changing. Like, I'm right. And I believe in what I believe. Like, fuck that. Like, even if I'm wrong, like, I believe in this. Like, they deserve it. Someone in that fucking arena for them, because their own management was not there for them. And after the phone conversation, like, my management was like, Jesus Christ, I had no fucking idea. Sorry. Like, then I got booted and like whatever else. They ended up making a record. Actually, I think with Howard Benson, it was a great record. Howard did a great job. Whatever. There were a lot more songs from the co-writes than I had originally included. But yeah, no, I didn't just write with Halestorm. Like, to the day I die, I will champion that band and tell you they're one of the greatest rock acts to come out of our generation. They're the real deal from day one. Dude, they had me on my knees and out of the palm of their hands from when they were living in the Oakwoods with their RV parked in the parking lot, like with their mom as the tour manager. Like, I have been singing their fucking praises since that time. And they were as hardcore and real then as they are now, Love Halestorm. I have nothing but fucking, dude, I fucking am obsessed with that band.
They're so good. You've put out a few solo albums. Do you have a hard drive or some apps with like years of
Oh yeah.
guitar riffs, song ideas, lyrics, melodies that you can choose from when you make these albums for yourself?
Yeah, yeah, I do. But here's the problem with that is that like it's gotten to the point where like right now I'm working on something that is going to be turns out it's going to be a solo record. But it's like it doesn't do me a whole lot of good to bring up and pull from these because I'll go through periods where I will literally just have ideas and I just record because I have a studio. So it's like, why not? This is literally the dream, right? You want to become independent from having to have a job so you can make music all the time. And so I do that, but like it doesn't do me a whole lot of good to pull from anything that had lyrics or stuff from a while ago because I'm usually whenever I want to like record something or if it's to sort of articulate or deal with or in sort of autobiographical nature, sort of set the record straight about something. So it usually has to be shit that like is about right now. So to pull from like I'll pull from old riffs and musical stuff, but lyrically once I've moved on, I've kind of moved on. You know what I mean? And if they're released, like for instance, Everything Burns like has a thing with me, and like because it has a place in the zeitgeist or the hearts of like one or two listeners out there, it's fine. I can revisit. I can still live vicariously through that. But like I wouldn't pull from something else that was around from that time period lyrically now and come up with something new because I'm not there. I don't feel that. But I am working on something now. Dude, I have fucking so much shit. I have so much shit that like blows my mind. Recently, John and Rocky and I were just like sharing old guitar stuff because something that probably, I mean, if it's not this interview, it's going to get brought up in one eventually. The truth behind why I initially sort of disappeared and whatever is like I can't play guitar. I can't play guitar because I'm 9 surgeries to and more on the way of like a lot of very damaging uh, arthritis and degenerative joint disease and shit. And, like my hands are fucked, and it has become the epicenter. It's now spread to other parts of my body, and like John and Rocky and I were kind of like addressing that when we had this. We played a show recently. We did a reunion thing for We the Fallen, and we had addressed my current issues, and so we were sort of like just being friendly and reliving like some of our favorite like heyday moments of guitar shit that no one ever saw. So we started like diving through hard drives and sending each other shit that we worked on no one ever heard. And like, yeah, I forgot there's a ton of shit, a ton of riffs that never got used for shit that maybe one day will find their place. But like, it took that for me to remember, like I was okay once. I was decent once. I actually got really good. No one heard it. I wanted to go on the road. I got really, really good right before I started surgeries because I was fighting doctors on like they weren't giving me options that were going to give me the option post surgery to play. And I was like, well, fuck you. I basically found a way to if I stayed seated and like played in a certain way, I could play for hours and like it was only once I stopped playing that the pain started. So I ended up getting really better than I ever was. No one ever got to hear it. I have 3 songs that I recorded when I was like really good. And it bums me out to this day that I never got to go on tour with that.
So you mentioned We Are the Fallen. So you guys formed in 2009. You released the album Tear the World Down. There's 3 singles: Bury Me Alive, Tear the World Down, Sleep Well, My Angel. And we have a fan question that has to do with what you just mentioned. This is from Marcio Fernandez from Brazil. The question is there any We Are the Fallen unreleased material, such as demos, B-sides, or unfinished tracks? If so, would you ever consider sharing them with the fans?
I'm probably being a little premature here, but fuck it. Like, if there wasn't a faux pas already, I was due one in this interview because that's sort of my MO. But Carly just left. Carly was just here. Her and her kid, they came down for spring break and we recorded, and we have been fucking with shit. Like, we've been in talks and sort of like threatening to do something since we did that show last, whatever it was, when we did the spot with the Nashville Symphony Orchestra. There are unreleased stuff. There's shit we did even for that record It wasn't released. Plus, there's been ideas since and stuff, and I refuse to believe that there is nothing in the future for We Are the Fallen, simply because we didn't break up because of some sort of band squabble or like everyone involved loves each other very much, has an immense amount of respect for each other. There's a lot of things that went on behind the scenes with that no one knows about, that cost and that sort of like sucked a lot of life out of it. But we're all very proud of that, dude. I'm sorry. I will put that live band up against anyone in existence. Like, we were at the top of our game, and I have never been a part of touring or any sort of anything to that degree that could fucking touch how good we were, how fucking tight we were, how like a force of nature we were to contend with live. And I will still stand by that. Like, that was something that was the last sort of victim of a system that should have already been gone, which was the major label bullshit. Like, there's nothing on paper that can give you a decent, they show you the math. It should give you a reason why that wasn't a bigger success than it was, other than it was just so many fucking things dropping the ball that had nothing to do with us. And we put in more than people realize. Like, that cost a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of energy to put together, to keep it secret as long as we did, and to keep it protected, to be able to make the album we wanted to make. And I stand by that album. I love it. I love it, and I love all those people.
I listened to your entire discography in
I'm
preparation for
sorry.
this interview. The
That
Evanescence
sounds
album, the
depressing.
solo albums, all the songs that you either produced or co-wrote, and all the other bands that you were a part of. I listened to everything, and I really enjoyed that album. There was a few standout tracks to me as well. And you mentioned that you guys were a well-oiled machine as a live band. You guys did 42 shows in a short period of time across the US and across Europe. So you were able to get everything together and well-oiled. And if you're wondering how much demand there is for this band, I'm about to hit you with some demand. This is what the fans have asked. Lindsay Dreamer asks, any updates on We Are the Fallen? Eric Curto asks, ask him about We Are the Fallen. We need a new album. Ian Lemon Rock says, is We Are the Fallen coming back? Peter Shield says, any chance for a follow-up for We Are the Fallen or a tour maybe? So the fans want to know.
I'll be honest with you. There are two things right now that are the main sort of the instant hurdles we have to get over for something to happen. Okay. One of them is easier than the other. And one of them is, we all are parents, and like, lives are different now. There would have to be, like, we want it badly, all of us, everybody. One, Marty's kind of busy. Marty's on tour with Daughtry's fucking relentless, and he will not fucking take long breaks. He like it, we don't know, we'd have to contend with that, okay, because Marty's with somebody else now. But for the rest of us, like, they could work we would all be willing to make it work. And I mean, if I'm being honest, a lot of it comes down to me, and it's my fault. And it's the fact that I believe there's one more surgery, that after that, I believe I will have the ability to be able to do this adequately. But when I first started having problems with physically, it coincided with some problems I was dealing with on a mental health issue, and that sort of like killed all the momentum we had after the fact. And now, to be honest with you, everyone would say yes. And we've had this discussion, like, everyone is on board, and we've wanted to try to work on things multiple times. There are actually some things that have begun, like some ideas that were thrown around. A lot of it comes down to, I personally stay, if I'm being honest, I physically can't play our set. And that could change. And I've worked very hard on that. I gave up working on that a few years ago when other things became more important. Um, in fact, like the surgery I'm speaking of, the last time it was scheduled, my father died about 36 hours prior to that surgery. And there was a lot of things going on that week, and I needed something to take a back seat so I could deal with all that and process that and mourn that and not have it sort of capsize my life at the time. And the thing that was chosen was that surgery, and I haven't rescheduled it. So it's possible, but it is not a lack of desire or a lack of like, dude, one thing Carly has always been so like, she's so aware of and concerned about wanting to give people who showed their support, like wanting to give them what they deserve and say thank you. And like, she's always the one bringing up, listen, fans want this and they've said this and whatever. And like, and it's important to all of us. None of us take it lightly, but it boils down to being on me, if I'm being honest, and it's my fault. And I can only do what I can. I mean, I'm trying, but that's just one small portion of sort of what this medical issue has taken. And dude, I love We're the Fallen. I would jump on stage with them tomorrow if I could do it justice, you know. Still could happen. I don't know when. We haven't blown it off. We all talk about it regularly. I have, unfortunately, a couple of things that take priority over that surgery now medically, and I'm doing my best. I mean, I hate it. I hate that. I hate being subject to that. I hate that having control over so much of my life, but it does. If I try to change it, I just end up hurting myself. I end up furthering injuries, fucking this, because I don't know when to quit. And I don't know when to say I need to. I can't do this. That's hard for me to say. I cannot do this, and that's kind of where I'm at. You know, I physically can't play it, and which played a huge part in my disappearing from music altogether. Like, I didn't want anybody to know that. I didn't know if it was gonna be permanent. I didn't know what the fuck was going on. All I knew was like my body was betraying me, my hands had become this liability, and I didn't want anybody to know. I was embarrassed. So like I just disappeared, you know. We the Fall didn't break up. We just, you know, it's just sort of is where it is for now. We love it though. Everyone's involved loves that band. No, there's no bad blood. I talk to John and Rocky all the time. Carly was just here. Marty texted me yesterday or the day before. You know, I mean, Carly and I went to go see him on the road. We're good. That band is not like Evanescence. You know, we all still talk to each other.
A few months ago, I did an interview with Lindsay Schoolcraft, who was a part of Cradle of Filth for several years. She did a solo album, and it was Rocky that produced it. So that's how I became aware of Rocky a few months ago. Like, everyone's working with each other, which is cool.
Yeah.
And in 2012, you teamed up with original Papa Roach drummer Dave Buckner, as well as Rockstar Supernova frontman Lucas Rossi, who's now in the supergroup Wrecking Room. You guys formed the band The Halo Method. During the Lucas interview, he shares that the Halo Method album just comes out in January. How does that happen?
Wait, what?
So if you go on Spotify in January, there's a full Halo Method album that's now on Spotify.
Didn't know that.
So you can listen to the
Those
Halo Method in its
those
entirety.
must be the unfinished, because the album was not finished and I have all of the hard drives. So those aren't finished. Whatever is up there, I didn't know that was even up there.
You'll have to go on Spotify
I'll have to.
you'll know exactly what it is because
We did. Yeah. Let me just say this. I've never been more excited or devoted to a project. We had plans like that. The world building that we did, because this was a sci-fi concept, like fantasy epic that we did. And it started with Buckner and I, and then when he introduced me to Lucas, it was just instant. And Lucas and Buckner and I sort of like, dude, that was me at my peak. That was me at my best. That was me when like the shit that I was able to do, and the ideas that we were working towards. Like, I have never been more proud of where we were going. And that was during the middle of that was when the shit started with when I like things went really bad for me. And but like, yeah, that one of my biggest regrets in all of my career was that happening when it did. Because man, that was unlike any experience I've ever had, dude. That band, we fucking, dude, the amount of like juju, the sort of like just yummies that occurred because the three of us would get in a room together and fucking like we were three established, like sort of had gotten very comfortable with certain amount of luxuries and where we just like there was no limits. There was no idea that could not be taken seriously or like that anybody would check you on. We just got to fucking create. It was so good. And it pains me to no end. One day because I've talked to David and Lucas about this, we need to like, I wanted to finish what we started and like truly finish and put it out, just because it's like, I want to be associated with this being in the world, like, but we were talking about like Vegas residency, like this insane, we were working with like people who do, I don't want to say special effects, but like the sort of like the technical side of bringing insane like visuals and fantasies to life, like things that hadn't been done before, things that now have become, even before like the whole hologram thing. Like, we were doing stuff before any of that. Like, we were working with people who were like, you would never associate me with, but like on top, the people from Disney and fucking ILM, and like, dude, we were literally about to like live the biggest of all my dreams. And that one was ruined by me. They won't say this. Dave and Lucas will probably give you extremely gracious and politically tolerable, I guess, answers. They won't flat out say Moody ruined it, but I did. I did. I had. It was around the same time I had my first kid, and my biggest ally and the person who I relied on most in the industry died, and died unexpectedly, and died during their involvement in a very, very big, like, life-altering situation and legal dispute and things with me. Like, they were the one representing me, and man, I could not deal with that. And I didn't know where to turn, and I sort of fled, and I hid, and I just couldn't deal with. There's so much that I wanted to be. Everything was just blown up so big because I was now a parent, and I was like married, and I was like trying to, I was supposed to be not susceptible to this. I was supposed to be grown up and whatever, but like there was just a lot of shit that I needed that was coming due. There was a bill that was coming due that, like, so the Halo method, unfortunately, had the most potential of anything I've ever been a part of, and it was 100% on me why it fell apart. And that was during the time when I just ran and I hid from everyone, everything, not sure. And I just, dude, I went dark, and I went low, and I didn't speak to people for years. Eventually, I went years without speaking to a person outside of my wife at the time, our kids, or her family. Because when I went into isolation, like, I don't do anything half-assed, apparently. Like, I went into isolation, and it sucks. And I regret that. The music is some of the best I've ever done. I'm a little nervous to think what's out there on Spotify, because it ain't finished, whatever it is. But man, what a great team to be partnered with, honestly. Buckner, I love, and Lucas. First time we ever we sat down together and just like bullshit our way through like one of our favorite songs called Porcelain. It just inspired this whole, I mean, dude, it was crazy. Like it was a gift. It really was. And oh my God, I hate myself so much for that being one of the casualties of my struggles with mental health. But it is what it is. Like there's no doctoring that up. It fell apart because I fell apart.
You talked about some difficult times. So I think now is the perfect time to hit you with one quote to rule them all. I have one final quote. And
Oh shit.
you talked about Dave Buckner being, one of the people you've gone to hell and back with, and that you trust him completely and he's there for you. And this quote is from someone else that's like that in your life. This is from Rich Bedeau, former Finger 11 drummer, Saint Asonia, and now also with Lucas Rossi in the
I was about to
supergroup
ask you, is
Wrecking
he in the
Room.
band with Lucas Rossi?
He is, and there's also Default Bassist is in there as well. So a legit super group, and there's also My Darkest Days. Sal Costa's in that band. So this is from Rich Bedeau, and Rich always provides the longest, most in-depth, heartfelt quotes. So just sit tight. I'm gonna read you
Yeah,
what
this is
he
gonna make me
shared.
uncomfortable, isn't it? Oh
Yeah, if
no.
you almost cried at the other ones, we need tissues for this. So this is Rich Bedeau. He says, back when Ben's first record came out, he and I toured the world together. We spent months and months together traveling through Canada, America, Europe, and Australia. I was there when he received his 3 times platinum plaque. I was there when he received his 4 times platinum plaque. I was there for it all. In fact, I was even there like right before his final moments with his former band. We have seen it all together, the ups and downs of the business, the ups and downs of our personal lives, and we stuck together for it. We supported each other through it. Time can go by, and Ben and I, we don't talk to each other, and then suddenly we talk, and it feels like it's only been a few days. I'm comfortable with Ben because I don't have to hide. We have so many similarities in our story that I can let Ben know what's going on with me, and he can relate and say, yep, I've been there too, and it's okay. In all the years of darkness we both had, we found each other again in the light. Me and Ben share a bond that only a few people in my life share. When one of us falls, we reach out with a hand to help pull the other person back up. I don't see or even talk to Ben as much as I would like, but that's okay because I love him and he loves me. It seems inevitable that we will one day make music together. When he shares me stuff he's working on, I'm always blown away by it. He is a massive talent, and I love him. That's from Rich Bedeau.
Well, look, man. So look, I want to man, I can't compete with that. I can't. Look, I'd love to be able to like match that quote for quote because I feel everything you just said like that is reciprocated 100%. I wish I could be as articulate as that in this moment. I will say he's not kidding about. I think he was in the elevator the night that everything went down. Like I'm actually, it's funny. I'm actually doing a podcast with John. This very limited thing that's like just a weird dressing stories that need to be told that like haven't been, because he and I both also spent 20 years. John from Evanescence and Real Fall, like we've been very political with a lot of the things that we've said publicly because that's just what you do. There comes a point where you're just like, it doesn't matter anymore. But like the night everything blew up with Evanescence, like there was a very fateful ride in an elevator. I think Rich was in it. Like when you want to talk about somebody who fucking knows, who saw, like he was there, and then the next day he was there and I wasn't. Like motherfucker was there, and like he and I actually was through Buckner and Renee Mata and like channels of that in 2022 that Rich and I got reacquainted, and like we've had a pretty close relationship since. Like, yeah, I love that man, and he's right. I've seen it's one thing when like look, there's a lot of people that you meet in this industry, and you have different connections with. A lot of it is just based on the fact that you're both bands at an award show, bands at an after party. You're both band guys at something. You sold millions of records. You understand certain things. You don't, whatever. But like, then there's those people that you fucking like. Chester from Lincoln Park, like as somebody who I just connected with, like more than the others. It is what it is.
And he was connected with Renee Matta as well. I see Renee post pictures every anniversary of Chester.
Very much so. Yeah, and in fact that his untimely death had a massive impact on Renee. I don't know everybody, all of this, but like Renee more than most. And Renee and I've been close like all these years. Like, and in fact, I literally was just in his car, let's see, 3 weeks ago. I was in New York, and I was listening to his daughter sing, who was like in a band, like just record. It's the craziest thing. I was there the night I was in New York. I was supposed to have dinner with him the night his daughter was born. She's now an adult singing in a band. It's fucking crazy. But yeah, like I there's just people you connect with and like have different, like Buckner's one of those, and Renee and Beto, man. Like you experience certain things and you can't. It's like it's bigger than all of this shit. It's bigger than It's like he said, like we traveled the world together, but like the part of that mattered was not us playing in arenas. It was the fact that, like, dude, we're just bums. We're just fucking dudes from nowhere towns that like are suddenly in Germany and France and in Spain, and fucking like we're playing music all over the world. With Buckner, the same thing. Like we had to deal with Rich and Buckner and Renee. We all have. I mean, I'm trying to be respectful of the anonymity of certain programs, but like all of us have been pretty open to the fact that we all have had struggles with sobriety, and not just like alcohol, but like we're broken people. You know what I mean? That drugs did a lot of healing for a long time, and then did 10 times as much breaking down, and we had to come to grips with the reality of that together. And that kind of bond is more than anything that we experienced, I think, in the music business and shit. It's like the people that you're mentioning, like it's just Rich and I were like, we knew each other and experienced all that stuff, but it wasn't until the context of years later and being in a meeting together or being in a, or like calling each, like both and I have had moments where we've had a bad night and the other was a part of being support for that. Like it's gone both ways. That's huge. That's a very big deal. That's so much more than like, man, we fucking like got wasted on a tour bus. Like none of that shit. It's like, no, dude, he and I have seen each other try to be the men we wanted to be for our families, and to have small children and just still be crumbling under the weight of a struggle that like supersedes our kids. It supersedes our fame, and supersedes our talents, supersedes our manhood. Like we both were we were saddled with shit long before we became men, long before we became whatever you want to call us in the music business. I love Rich Beto. I wish to God I could articulate something as well as that to sort of like, returning kind, but like I accept that and I appreciate that.
I think he did a pretty good job there of sharing your mutual admiration. Up here, I have Finger 11 Grayest of Blue Skies in Rich's honor. I've done 2 interviews with him. Nice. And what's funny is the longest interview in the 6-year history of the podcast was 3.5 hours with Rich Beto the first time I interviewed him. And we are at the 3 hour.
Oh, shit.
And hold on. So he has the record. We're currently at 3 hours and 19 minutes. So I have just a few final questions, and I think we'll leave.
Dude, I'm going to beat his record. Come on, let's do this.
You want to beat it? Okay.
I have to. We haven't even touched on so much. We could beat him easy. I gotta give him shit about that. I'm going to call him as soon as this is over, actually. I'm going to call him and tell him
you're so competitive. You want a 3 hour and 31-minute interview.
For what it's worth, the first like band computer, because like I came up in the world where the same time Pro Tools did. So like Pro Tools was untouchable until like I became 18 or whatever and started and worked in the studio. But like I still did computer-based recording, and the first one I ever built, I still have the shell of, and it's got a fucking Finger 11 sticker right there on the side of it. I sent him a picture of it like maybe a year ago or something. Yeah, dude, I've been on the Finger 11 tip since the beginning.
I was 15 when I became a fan. It was, for me, it was the second album, this one, which is when Rich became a part of them. So in 2000,
Right.
I remember this album had such undeniable hits with Drag You Down, First Time, and Bones and Joints. All three of those. And it's bigger in Canada. Like they didn't blow up till later with the
I'm about to say
album
that was the
after
first
this.
album I knew of. That so maybe I shouldn't say since the beginning, but since that album, that was the first one I knew of. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So just a few more questions. This
Hit
is the
me.
final fan question. This is from Diego Mazaron. And the question
Okay.
is, what would you like to always be remembered for? These are the deeper questions. This is the final handful of questions.
Okay, hold up. No, that's good. That's a good one. That's hard to answer. Um, I honestly would have to say it kind of depends on by whom and who's doing the remembering, because my kids is different than the what I would want people, the public. Like as far as just as a person, as a human being, I try really hard as I want to be remembered as someone who made space, you know, who took time to understand and like made time to understand people. And that's like the same way, like the reason I write songs like that, all we do in that is just try to express an idea, right? And like when people connect to that, that's what makes a song popular, not successful, not whatever. And it's like I just want to be remembered as someone who like made space for others. Whether or not I've accomplished that, or whether or not I will accomplish that before I die, I don't know. But if I had to choose, I would like to be remembered more for something small I did in somebody's life that made a difference in the moment than some record or some song that reached a certain amount of popularity.
And when you look back on your life and career, what are you most proud of?
Shit, man. No one's ever gonna say I didn't fucking do it my way. No one's ever gonna say that like because look, when I show up, I fucking show up, and sometimes I don't, and like I regret and I have all these things like, but it's like one thing I'm proudest of is that when I show up, I'm authentically me, and no one's ever going to say that like they didn't remember, because you know what I mean. I'm most proud of the fact in my career that like when I showed up, it's clear that I had been there, and that's all. Like I don't care if they remember me cool or remember me being successful. I just want them to remember me being me.
And now when you look back on your life and career, what are you most grateful for?
Honestly, I'm it sort of ties in with like the thing that is sort of like the epicenter of my existence now, and really was the bane of my existence for a lot, was just like a lot of the experiences that now I classify as traumatic or whatever. Like I'm most grateful for the fact that this job, this industry, this whatever was a more than anything, it was a vehicle to connect with other people like that had been through, or to be a part of someone's like getting through something like that I want to be remembered like that. I'm most grateful for connection, like the fact that like you know how many times someone has written me, come up to me, found some way to let me know that like something I did played a pivotal part in a moment that was big for them, that was either overwhelming or just memorable or whatever. It's like that's what I'm most grateful for. Is there This is going to sound weird, and I don't mean it as like Machiavellian as it sounds, but if you're within 20 years of our age right now in any direction and you exist on planet Earth, there's like a 99% chance at some point I played a part in making you cry or making you feel something. Like there's a huge amount of people that have something I did attached to like an emotional moment in their life. And like, dude, that makes me feel less alone. It makes me feel like that makes me feel like I mattered, you know? and that is what I'm most grateful for, is just connecting. Also getting to like experience things like seeing Lizzie Hale do that moment at the fucking whiskey, like shit like that. I mean, dude, I'm sorry, that's better than any lottery ticket, you know?
Final two questions. If you could sit down next to your 10-year-old self and you could whisper words of advice, taking everything you've learned since 10, so the mentorship and the lessons and the experiences, the ups and downs, the highs and lows, what do you whisper to cute little Ben sitting there to help guide him through this human experience?
Well, that's tough, man, because 10 years old was a weird. I don't know, man. I I I
Just
had to
give him a
actually
hug.
I literally was, the words that come to my mouth was like, I've had to address this in a much more serious clinical environment before, and the result was simply I was sort of like called out because I didn't, the first answer was not give him a hug, but like I had that much sort of detachment and sort of like I felt uncomfortable around the idea of my younger self and giving any advice, because I my younger self would do a lot and I also wasn't that kind to him. So I would probably, yeah, just give him a hug and just remind him that everything is legitimate. Everything you're feeling is legitimate. And one day everything is going to feel smaller than it is now. You know, that's it. Like like I said, 10-year-old me was going through a lot. And you know, I would simply just be kind. I guess is sort of my advice to me, hopefully at any point in my life, is just be kind to yourself, be kind to others, be kind to yourself, and remember that everything right now is one day going to be much smaller, you know, which I think is probably applicable now, true to any period of life, is like this, you know, this too shall pass. You know, it's like it's I don't know. I should have a better answer for that, but I don't. It's you hit the nail on the head with the hug thing. Like
That was an honest answer. And final question, is there anything you'd like to say to the fans that have supported you over this wild career since 94?
those of you who are still here and still willing to take the ride, being a ticket holder all this time, like I hope, and it is my goal, and it is a priority to me to one day provide the amount of content that would show the gratitude I have. Um, because so much of the recurring theme has just been, when do we get, and my message would just be, I have not taken you for granted. I'm sorry, not the best at being a famous person, or a I don't know. I don't know. I've never really have that kind of access very well. The people have of me, and I also, so like, thank you. I just would say thank you. And I promise it's not over yet. I'm not finished yet. In fact, I have a lot more to say now that I've had this time of going through what I've been through, and whatever. Like, it's not over yet. Is all I would say. It I don't know how any of them are still fucking sticking around, because you have more patience than I do, and I understand why people would get very fed up with a lot of empty promises from me. But I'm trying.
As we wrap up, I want to take a moment to acknowledge you for your lifelong pursuit of mastery as a singer, as a songwriter, as a guitarist. I want to commend you for having a big vision for your life, for setting these big goals, working towards them on a daily basis. You've accomplished so much. You've shown the rest of us what's truly possible if we actually dedicate our lives to the pursuit of mastery as well. I want to thank you for putting out great music that's become the soundtrack to the lives of millions of people around the world, my life included. I remember the exact moment when I heard Bring Me to Life. I was 18. I was in my drummer's basement. The song comes on the radio. I stop and I go, that's it. That's the future. I hear it. It's right here. And I knew it was going to be something big. So thank you for the music that you've put out that I've listened to for the last 23 years. And last but not least, I want to thank you for this interview, sitting down with me for almost 3.5 hours now, answering all my ridiculous Evanescence questions, all my questions about We Are the Fallen, about the Halo method, your solo stuff. So Ben, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Honestly, thank you. I don't even know how to respond to that. That is more than I deserve, but I appreciate it. And thank you for being patient and helping this come along, because this has actually been, it is such a treat, dude. For someone that actually cares or does any sort of like homework and actually like this has been an enjoyable experience. And I don't know, I know a lot of other people you've interviewed, and we all share that sentiment about you and what you're doing. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you for the kind words. So to the Ben Moody fans, the Evanescence fans, the We Are the Fallen fans, the Halo Method fans, all the projects you've been a part of, and the podcast fans, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next episode. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Who would you like me to feature next for a 2-hour deep dive interview? You can let me know in the comments. You can also send me an email at joelmartinmastery@gmail.com, or you can reach out to me on all social media platforms at joelmartinmastery. So I am done. I am complete. I approve this message, and I'll see you on the next episode.